Hello there, a very good morning to you. 12 new towns.
The Prime Minister is to unveil 12 new towns inspired by the King.
More than 100 sites have been suggested, but can they fix the country's housing crisis?
Peace for Ukraine. Well, Donald Trump has been holding talks with Presidents Putin and Zelensky as he seeks to end the war in Ukraine.
And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
80 years since the Allied bombing of Dresden in World War II. We'll take a look back at that critical moment and its lasting legacy.
As Elon Musk's son steals the show in the Oval Office, we're asking, should kids be kept out of the workplace?
Yes.
No, they're cute. It's nice to see a human side of people.
Well, there you're seeing the Prince of Wales. Is he our trump card? The UK seeks closer ties with America. Could the royals be our secret weapon to rebuild this so-called special relationship?
New blue plaques unveiled. We'll be finding out who's going to be celebrated.
And just one day to go till Valentine's Day. What's the high street got on offer? We'll be featuring the best gifts.
It's Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Yes, and I warned you yesterday.
In the sport, the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park ends with more drama than anyone could expect. It probably similar to what's going to happen with me on Valentine's Day tomorrow. Celtic lost to Bayern Munich at Parkhead, but do have a lifeline for the second leg in Bavaria, and the US Open are messing with mixed doubles, and people aren't happy.
Are you fed up with the cloud? There's actually a greater chance of seeing some breaks in it through today. Stick with us to find out if you're going to see any of the sunshine.
Well, here we are on this Thursday morning. Good morning to you, whoever you're watching, however you're listening. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
So we're talking about all these new towns, these 12 new towns proposed for around the country, and I think that's very exciting. I think it's very exciting.
Me too. And they're meant to be beautiful as well.
Well, hopefully they will be. We're talking about architecture in general. We're also talking about the ugly ones, how we've got it wrong so often throughout the years. And cheap doesn't have to mean ugly, but so often it does. And but also the King yesterday visited the most beautiful football stadium I've ever been in. The team of Mr. Paul and
yes.
you, of course, you've been there too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think he was quite the same as you were yesterday, though. He did have a lovely time.
I enjoyed the champagne at Spurs a little bit too much.
Look, they're at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah. Walking
there
up the tunnel there.
Who's he with there? Who's the tall one?
That is, I don't know. It's an NFL thing going on there, I think.
Yeah.
That's Phoebe Schechter.
But tell me, it's called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yes.
So I mean, your last stadium is called White Hart Lane.
Yeah.
Why? It's quite a boring sort of title, isn't it?
I think, to be honest with you, Eamonn, the idea is that they're looking for a sponsor for it. So if they call it White Hart Lane, which the old stadium was, so at the moment, I think that's the reason that it's called what it is. So I have to say, welcome to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We used to be welcome to White Hart Lane.
I'm surprised, firms aren't rushing just to have their name imprinted on that, because what a sight. Ellie and I both visited it for the first time in the past few weeks, and it was phenomenal, absolutely. Just explain the business about the pitch that they play on, and then what it becomes to be an NFL pitch, for instance.
Because he's talking to NFL specialists. There's Ledley King there, and that's Jenna Scalacci on the right. She was the captain of the women's team. She's now a coach, and Ledley King, who's, of course, a former captain and now an ambassador of the club, as lovely as Ledley. And so the actual pitch itself, there's an NFL pitch, so an American football pitch, which is stored way to the right-hand side. So when you see the pitch way behind the south stand, it sits under there. So then what happens is when they have NFL, they move the grass pitch out and slide the other one underneath.
They slide, they interchange.
So
it's unbelievable.
clever.
And when you look at it, if you go in there, and I've had the honour to go and have a look and play with some of the stuff, they're on rolls. They're like huge rolls of cups, like your dad would have had on the van years ago, but huge, much, much bigger. And then it rolls out, and then they slide out on these plates, and it's all done within a day. It is absolutely incredible.
Now, the King was wearing a blue tie. Does that mean he's a Spurs fan?
You know what?
I think it might, you know.
I think it probably does. I think the thing is, though, is that if you see, there's Daniel Levy was there as well, the chairman, and he was talking to him, and I think what we're saying was, are you any good playing at midfield? Because we're going to need someone, and maybe that's what it is.
He could be picked.
I think so.
So all of that leads us to our lead story this morning, and the Prime Minister's promised what has been termed the largest house-building programme since the post-war, with dozens of new towns built by British workers.
Yes, more than 100 possible locations have been suggested for new towns in England, each with the potential for 10,000 or more new homes, as he vows to take on the NIMBYs and the Blockers. OK, he says he's inspired by the King and his overseeing of homes. They visited a place in Cornwall at the start of the week, and he's come away with a lot of influence on that. Now, joining us in the studio now, political commentator Lauren McKevitt on this one. Lauren, we were saying earlier before the programme, we're excited by this. We should be excited by this. This is the chance to do something really wonderful or mess it up.
I think there is absolutely nobody of any kind of political persuasion in this country who doesn't believe that we need more houses. We do. We need to build more homes. We need to do so in a way that protects the environment to the degree in which it's possible to protect the environment when you plonk something new on it. We need to do so in a way that puts homes in place that actually want to live. And we need to do so in a way that, isn't completely upending communities that have existed for hundreds of years. And I think new towns are a really good idea. It concerns me a little bit that as soon as Labour came in, they removed what the Conservatives had put in place, which was a requirement for beauty as part of the standards.
Why would they have done that?
It's possible that they felt that it was too nebulous a term and that there were more ways of cementing that within the requirements without having it be a headline name within it.
Because we are assured that these are going to be beautiful.
Exactly. So the fact that they have reiterated that while removing this headline term, to me indicates that they've probably found a way of doing that, but with sort of cementing it in place rather more seriously.
I really hope that is the case, because it is as easy to get these things wrong as it is to get them
It absolutely
right.
is. And I think that that's why there has been so much objection to new development in large parts of the country, is because when a development has gone in at the far end of a town, it's not been sensitively designed. The environmental problem about, there's a bat or a newt has always come first over, are you going to flood the town? Is the sewage provision, effective enough? Where I'm from, out in Gloucestershire, we've had, I think, over 1,000 homes added to our nearest town. The sewage system hasn't been upgraded. There's no new doctor's surgery. There's no new infrastructure that's been put in to expand the rest of the town. There's no new school. There's hardly any new places in the old school that was there. Those issues are as much of an environmental issue as whether or not there's a great crested newt that's going to get in the way of you putting a bulldozer in the ground. So the environmental concerns of people who've been classified as NIMBYs don't just extend to whether or not there's a bat that is going to be upset. A lot of this is to do with, are you building on a floodplain? I'm always very nervous about new build developments that have the word meadow in the title, because so many meadows are in fact flood meadows, sort of relief flooding areas within farmland. If you plonk houses on there, of course they're going to flood, of course they're going to be damp. It's been damp for 1,000 years. What did you think was going to happen?
The rain's got to stay somewhere.
Exactly.
Soaked up somewhere.
And it's got to be soaked up even more so in flood meadows, because everybody's concreting over their driveways and there's no ability for groundwater to go in. So I think new towns where all of that is decided and considered in one block, in many ways, are a good thing. Now, on the other hand, towns, for the most part, have developed organically over the years, and plonking a whole new town down does prevent some of that. So you have to be really careful in your planning. And there are some, I know there's one out near Farnham near where my mother lives in Borden, where they were promised when everybody moved into this new town, I suppose about 10 years ago, that there would be a big supermarket, like a superstore, like an Aldi, and there isn't one. So everyone still has to have a car, everyone still has to be going into Farnham or Hazelmere to go and do a big shop. And if you don't have that kind of non-government, sort of more private sector element within a town like that, you're automatically kneecapping how vibrant that town can feel on its own.
Now, Lauren, one of the things we want to point out is when design goes wrong, and these are subjective, these are our views on it. And one of the places you really have concerns with, and you've got a beautiful phrase for this, and tell us about it. This is the Barbican, right? We're gonna look at the Barbican, and you don't like it, and it has got a term called. It is known as a.
The Barbican is brutalist.
Brutalist.
It is brutal.
Right. So describe. Tell me what makes that brutal.
Well, I think so. My grandfather was an architect in Dublin, and he's now going to do somersaults because he was a massive fan of brutalism, and it was one of the biggest arguments that I had with him, in terms of dinner table debate when I was growing up, was I've never been a fan of brutalism. I don't think it ages very well. I don't think it encourages, beauty in the environment, which I think is important for social cohesion.
But Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, it gets a lot of accolades though, and it's a very desirable place to live, isn't it, because of its geography. But there are those, in the architectural world, who would think that is so worth preserving.
Well, there was a big movement after the war for building with a purpose, and overriding the need for beauty, there was a need for purpose. There was a need for, and designers felt that by building something like the Barbican, where there were green spaces designed into the building, there were courtyards designed, that they were creating a new form of an old way of building in many respects. Now, I think that there was a sort of a utilitarianism that came along with that I don't think has aged particularly well. But the brutalists were far from the only section of architects to do something along those lines. The Bauhaus movement did similar. The Courvoisier movement did similar. But beauty in design is mostly why people have objections to things going into their neighbourhoods. So I think it is important to include a beauty element in how things are designed.
So
I think the King does that and has done that in the developments he's done on his land, and so I think it's a good thing if the government are willing to listen to him, because this was a place that was designed for I think 400 people, and they're now expanding it to 4,000 people because so many people want to live there. And if that isn't a big selling point for the methodology involved, and he does a lot of really traditional building methods. He does a lot of work with lime wash. Really, really traditional routes to building, and if you take those kinds of traditional building methods in their specific areas in the country, Cotswold stone in the Cotswolds, the way they build in Norfolk with the stones inlaid into the brickwork. If you do more of that, more people are going to want to see homes in their area, because at the moment people's children can't move home to where they grew up because there's nowhere for them to buy.
Well, look, we're going to see more of you. You're going to be back after 7 o'clock, and I think people will have a chance to debate with you and talk with you about what they regard as brutalist or what they regard as beautiful. But for the moment, Lauren, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
And we do want you to have your say this morning. Maybe where you live or where you wouldn't live. What's awful about architecture and housing. There's no doubt this is needed.
Oh, no doubt. And everybody would agree with that we've got a housing crisis and we need more housing. Yeah. But what kind of housing?
Who are the houses going to be for?
Who's it for? Where's it going to be? Lots of questions still remain.
So if you've got maybe an example of something you think is beautiful, send us the picture this morning. Just have your say, and we'll reflect that in the programme. Thank you.
Now, President Trump says he and Vladimir Putin have agreed to start negotiations on ending the war in Ukraine after a lengthy and highly productive phone call, we're told.
We'll see what that means. I think when the war ends, one thing he was very strong about, if it ends, he wants it to end. And that's President Putin said that. He wants it to end. He doesn't want to end it and then go back to fighting 6 months later. We talked about the possibility, I mentioned it, of a ceasefire so we can stop the killing. And I think we'll probably end up at some point getting a ceasefire in the not too distant future. President Putin wants to have peace now, and that's good. And he didn't want to have peace with Biden.
Was that conversation with Putin?
And you tell me why that is, okay?
Now, what President Trump hasn't done is set a date for a face-to-face meeting with President Putin, but he has told reporters the meeting will take place in Saudi Arabia.
Well, a Kremlin spokesperson has said that Putin supported Trump's idea that the time had come to work together. We're joined now by former head of counter-terror at the Ministry of Defence, Major General Chip Chapman. Good to see you this morning. And things are moving very fast, aren't they, when it comes to ending the war in Ukraine? But it does seem that Kyiv isn't in the driving seat.
Well, that's an interesting question about how fast you go, because the great man theory of international relations is not really proven, and it can take a very long time for negotiations to be productive. Now, what President Trump wants is a ceasefire by Easter, the 20th of April, and negotiations would follow a ceasefire. The test of this will be if there is a ceasefire, and a quick ceasefire, which gives a frozen peace before you get to negotiations. Now, negotiations can be very long, as evidenced by, for example, 2 years that it took for the Korean War and 5 years in the Paris Peace Accords for the Vietnam War. So it is good that there will be a potential process for the future. Whether that leads to a denouement of a sustainable and durable peace, which is the two terms which Kellogg, the interlocutor for the Americans, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary for Defense, said yesterday, is another matter, because that is what you want, a sustainable and durable peace for the future.
What about the location for this first round of talks, Saudi Arabia, Chip? What's the significance of that?
Well, it's sort of a neutral venue. I don't think that is where the talks will take place. That is where a meeting between Putin and Trump will take place. There's a difference between the mechanisms of international relations of negotiating teams and the leaders of those two things. So I wouldn't read too much into that. It would need to be a sort of neutral venue in the sense of not in Moscow or in Washington. But I wouldn't read too much into that. It's the real key question for all this, of course, is Ukraine an equal member of the efforts to bring this durable peace? And Trump's response to that yesterday is it's an interesting question. Now, that's where things can go wrong, because there are a number of other nations which have agency here. Of course, the first one is Ukraine, and then it is the Europeans, because there are still a number of European countries which feel threatened by Putin, particularly in the Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and they want a durable peace as well. So you cannot go above the heads of the Europeans and the Ukrainians in how you unlock this and bring about a peace for the future. Because the object of war is a better peace, but the key thing there is from whose perspective and whose rules will apply. It cannot be just the Americans and Russian rules.
Yeah, because very interesting from Pete Hegseth yesterday, laying out in crystal clear terms that Ukraine would not be joining NATO and there'd be no US troops for Ukraine in any future security arrangement.
Yeah, and I think we've known for a while that Ukraine wouldn't be joining NATO. From a Ukrainian perspective, there are two things that they really want there. The first one is they want to be westward leaning and join the EU. And the second one is they'd accept not being part of NATO as long as they get some sort of security guarantees. Now, of course, they'd want security guarantees from the Americans rather than from the Europeans, because they did have security guarantees prior to the Russian invasion. They had the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, which is when they gave away their nuclear weapons. So they want credible security guarantees. And unless you have that, you won't get this durable and sustainable peace.
Are you surprised, Chip, at the speed of this? We talked about the speed of this so far. But basically, you know, I look at this and I think, it was that easy. It was that easy to get Zelensky and Putin around the table. Has no one asked them before? What is it that Trump has got that Biden didn't have?
Well, you always have credibility when you start a new presidency. But again, you have to put a slight caveat on that at the moment, because you have to look at why fighting stops. Fighting stops because of decisive military victory. That isn't going to happen. Because of the improbability of military victory. That is the case we're at the moment with both sides. Or because of unacceptable costs. Those unacceptable costs can be in terms of your casualties or your economic degradation. And we're seeing that from both sides. You know, the Ukrainian electricity grid has been degraded. The Russian oil refining capacity has been hit, possibly up to 40%. So there's an incentive from both sides to try and unlock some sort of future. It is what that future will be and whose rules will apply, which will be the sticking points when you get to the negotiations.
Chip Chapman, thank you very much indeed. Very good listening to you there. We've got to call it a day. Appreciate that. Again, have your say. We look forward to hearing what you have got, what you make of what is going on. And, you know, say what you want about Donald Trump, whether you love him or loathe him, but goodness me, it looks like he's getting things done here.
Getting things done, yeah.
Which leads us to the poll of the day.
Very nice segue. Yes, our poll of the day today is, do you think Donald Trump can stop the Ukraine war? You can scan the QR code on your screen, or you can go to gbnews.com/poll if you want to get involved. As always, the final result will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
So what do you think? Can he stop this? Will this be stopped? Let's hope so. Let's have a look at some of the other stories we've got coming into the newsroom on this Thursday morning.
The Prime Minister has told the families of those killed in the Nottingham attacks that a judge-led public inquiry will take place in a matter of weeks. During a meeting at Number 10 today, the families of the victims were told by Sir Keir Starmer that a number of different agencies would be scrutinised by this probe.
Israel's defence minister has warned that if Hamas doesn't release Israeli hostages by Saturday, the gates of hell will open on them. Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the country's military to gather in and around the territory as fears grow over a truce. Hamas has suspended the release of hostages after accusing Israel of breaching ceasefire obligations, including the delaying of the return of Palestinians to northern Gaza.
3 lynx that were illegally released are doing well after completing a 30-day quarantine at Edinburgh Zoo. The Royal Zoological Society of Scotland, the charity which runs the zoo, trapped the cats in early January after they were spotted in the Scottish mountain range. It's been confirmed that all 3 lynx are female and believed to be at least a year old, and they are so cute.
Would you say they're cute?
So cute.
They're killers.
Well, yeah, but very
killing
cute
machines.
faces. Very cute faces, and nice and furry and fluffy as well.
You know, it's interesting. We said they're 3 lynx. So when do lynx become lynxes?
Or maybe they don't become lynxes. Maybe it's like fish. You can't have fishes.
Well, you can't have fish. I would have fishes.
Would you have fishes?
Fishes.
I'd have fish.
Fish. That's an interesting one. I never thought of that
So maybe
before.
lynx is the same.
Lynx,
I don't know.
lynx are lynxes. But you're right. I mean, they're amazingly statuesque, beautiful creatures.
Gorgeous.
It has to be said. Oh, did you hear about the piggies?
No, what about the piggies?
You know, the piggies that were on the loose in Scotland?
Yes.
They've all been
now,
murdered.
they were cute as well. I like those.
They were
as well.
cute.
What are they called? Those?
They've been murdered. Do you know that?
They were murdered by who?
Pig killers.
Oh, no.
they set out these animal people to catch them,
Oh, no.
and they took them and they murdered them.
Oh, no. That's
And
what
that
the
was
feral
the end of them.
pigs.
Yeah.
Oh, and they were so cute. And I don't know the difference between a feral pig and a boar. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong. They've been
And
caught.
they were all
They've
cute,
been
all running
killed.
down the road and everything. There were about 10 of them, and then they're all teddy bred.
Oh, no.
They're all dead.
Oh, you've broken my heart.
Well, you see, you didn't even know. Those little piggies. Little piggies didn't even get a chance to go to the
It's
market.
happened overnight. I missed that entirely. Oh, I can't believe that. That's very sad.
Dead. Shot through the head.
Poor piggies.
Dead.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, what other way were you going to get rid of them? It's
It would just suffocate.
final.
Slowly.
Nowhere else to go. We're going to go to the weather. Let's have a look.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year, and if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon, and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Still to come, it's been 80 years since the Allied attack on the German city of Dresden. It killed 25,000 people. We're going to tell you all about that next.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's been 80 years since the RAF had launched air attacks on Dresden in Germany, killing 25,000 people. Now, this is regarded as a war crime, with most of these people obviously being civilians. So in the decades since, critics have wondered whether it was necessary to attack at all, given that the end of the war was so close.
Well, GB News reporter Will Hollis has the story.
The fires of Dresden burned for days, until little but a shell of the city was standing. In February 1945, 1,000 bombers from the RAF and US Air Force dropped 4,000 tons of explosives and incendiary bombs onto the German city over 3 days.
With terrible precision, masses of high explosive go down on the city which had been earmarked by the Germans as a possible standby capital.
The colossal firestorm ripping through Dresden killed 25,000 civilians. At the time, Nazi propaganda inflated the figures tenfold, but the legacy of Dresden continues to cause debate. Until 1945, Dresden was untouched. But to aid the Soviets advancing in the east, Churchill ordered the bombing of attractive targets, essential for a German counter-offensive. Dresden was filled with refugees, but seen as key to the industrial war effort with rail and infrastructure, and justified by the Allies for attack. The International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln serves to remember the men who braved deadly skies to win the war. Richard Marriott was flying above Dresden 80 years ago.
This is Sergeant Richard Marriott from Leicestershire. He was only 29 when he was killed with the rest of his crew, and they went down on the first night of the raid over Dresden.
Nicky van der Drift is chief executive at the Bomber Command Centre. The centre's other role is reconciling for the horror bombing brought down on both sides. Bombing was a key strategy during the Second World War, with Berlin and London facing the brunt of attacks.
It's about recognising shared suffering. It's about recognising that in war, some good people do bad things, and getting that baseline understanding of what the pressures were on both sides.
Critics of Dresden's bombing take aim at how near it was to the end of the war. The Allies' target was bringing it closer.
The ruins of Dresden are a symbol of complete Allied cooperation aimed at the very heart of the Greater Reich.
Will Hollis, GB News.
If you've got a view on that, we'd like to hear from you this morning. You know, a lot of people highlight this, but there's no mention of the Nazi bombings of London and Coventry and Belfast and Glasgow and Liverpool and Newcastle, and we go on and on and on. War is war,
yeah,
and that certainly brought it to an end much, much quicker. But was it too much force? Let us know your views. Still to come.
Paul Coit will be here with all your latest sports news. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There's disruption to some Calmac, Outer Hebrides and Firth of Clyde sailings this morning because of poor weather conditions. There are delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to the 7:30 Stena Line sailing between Cairnryan and Belfast because of an operational incident in Northamptonshire. The A14 is closed eastbound between junctions 10 and 11 from Burton Latimer to Findon because of a medical emergency. The M11 in Essex is closed in both directions between junctions 8 and 7 between the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn and Harlow North after an accident causing queues. In London, the Ridgeway in Enfield is closed after an accident last night. The M40 in Buckinghamshire is closed southbound between junctions 5 and 4 from Stokenchurch to High Wycombe after an accident. And train services have been stopped between Bristol Temple Meads and Westbury because of an incident.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, how do you fancy your chance to be one of the 2 lucky winners in the Great British Giveaway? We've got 2 fabulous prize bundles to be won. Here are all the details that you need.
We're doubling your chances to win in our latest Great British Giveaway, with 2 fabulous prize bundles up for grabs. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16, along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. And the best news is 2 lucky winners are going to win. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm just sitting looking at my phone here because our printer's broken in the office. So all your views are coming through here.
Via WhatsApp.
CJ says new towns. We're talking about new towns and the fact that the government have got all these plans for new towns, which is fine and great. And we're talking about they can either be beautiful or really ugly. CJ says new towns. We don't need new towns. We just need less people. NDP, am I the only person who doesn't believe we need more houses? They ruin the countryside. Look, you've got so much countryside, you don't know what to do with it. See, people go on about that countryside business. I love the countryside, but there's too much of it. I don't know what we're preserving the countryside for.
We've got lots of lovely countryside, but we've also got lots of brownfield sites.
Correct.
That could be built on.
And you've got lots of very plain, ugly fields as well.
Yeah, so I think we could do something with that. Jay's been in touch saying there's a small town near me, beautifully set in gorgeous countryside. That's the other thing, you can enhance countryside with it. They've brought farmland and built lots of houses there, but what they haven't done is build any more schools, GP practices or any other relevant infrastructure, and that's the problem.
Right, here's the problems with sport. Let's go to Paul, find out all that went on last night and a few problems at Goodison.
I just want to make clear that I'm not the problem, though. Is that all right?
That's OK.
OK.
Never the problem.
On this occasion.
Everton 2, Liverpool 2. So it's the final Merseyside derby at Goodison Park before they move to this new stadium, this unbelievable stadium at Bramley Moor Dock. Did you know that in the centre circle, so when they get rid of Goodison Park and they move, the centre circle will be preserved as a green space.
I think that's a very
Just
good idea.
But the main reason is that Dixie Dean, who was their greatest ever striker going back to like nearly 100 years or so, his ashes are scattered there. So they can't, so they're going to leave that. So I don't know whether they're going to have what they're going to do, but in the middle there's a little green space, and that will be the centre circle, which is going to be preserved.
I think
which I like
nice.
that. So,
Served in what? What are they building houses there? Or
I don't know. I don't know, but that's only going to be a little bit in the middle, but around there.
They're not going to make it a car park and have a green space.
But like a nice, a garden.
Yeah, I think
Maybe a little
I'd be
water
interested to see how they're going to redevelop.
Roundabout. Not a green roundabout. They could do that, but anyway.
Nice little water feature would be nice.
That would be nice.
Okay,
but anyway.
But it wasn't nice last night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it wasn't nice at all. It was a lot of argy-bargy that went on. So anyway, it was Liverpool and Everton. I think it's probably a fair result, and they're probably both happy with it. So the drama, 120 derbies at Goodison Park, 41 they've won each.
Right.
So the last one, Everton score after 11 minutes, then Alexis McAllister scores after 16 for Liverpool, then Mo Salah, 73 minutes, it looks like Liverpool are going to coast, and they're going to get the 3 points. Then we head into injury time. So Liverpool are doing fine, Everton go forward, we're looking 97th minute. Now that's James Tarkowski, lashes the ball in, 9 yards out, crowd goes crazy, as you can imagine, right at the very end. You get a crowd, you get a pitch invasion, then Michael Oliver says, hang on, we've got a VAR check. So all the excitement all goes quiet. So much drama.
So much riding on that.
Oh, so much. So then Liverpool thinking it's a foul. There's an offside check. It's nothing to do with the foul. The goal's given. So then in the 100th minute, the final whistle goes. Now, what we can see on the screen there is the argy-bargy that happened afterwards. Now, Abdoulaye Doucouré went over to celebrate in front of the Liverpool fans. Yeah. Bit of a no-no because he's an Everton player, starts celebrating in front of them. Curtis Jones and the Liverpool players go over to him. Then it starts getting a little bit of a melee, a little bit of handbags going on. 15 to 20 players are then involved in this. Arne Slot races over to Michael Oliver, the referee, so this is the Liverpool manager, starts remonstrating in his face. What's the difference between a remonstration and a demonstration? Do you know?
A punch, probably.
Probably. Anyway, Slot and his assistant then gets sent off, and so he can't do the press conference either. 4 people sent off, including Doucouré and Jones as well. And that is the way you end the final Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. And you know what? Whether it would be bad or not, it was one hell of a humdinger.
And just a very quick one on Celtic, beaten but not out of the UEFA League.
Yeah, they scored very early after 30 seconds. Bayern Munich scored twice. You got Harry Kane scored. They get a goal in the way through into about 72nd minute. That's Daizen Maeda scored for Celtic. So it is a lifeline. So they go to Bayern Munich, 2-1 down. I mean, it's going to be tough. But at least they're not completely out of it yet.
OK, Paul, thank you very much indeed. We'll take a break, back with a paper review right after this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We have some heavy thundery rain affecting eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, there is also a band of rain pushing in from the west tomorrow, affecting parts of Madeira later on and pushing into the far west of Spain and Portugal as well. Also some hefty rain affecting Italy, but it's around the Adriatic coastline where we're going to have some heavy thundery downpours, even some significant snow for Croatia in particular, with 10 to 20 centimetres even to lower levels. Elsewhere, a mostly fine story.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Well, a new poll commissioned by Channel 4 shows that more than half of Gen Z believe that Britain should be ruled by a dictator. Seriously, they actually said that. Well, 1 in 3 would want an army. What's the army in charge? 1 in 3 want martial law.
There's something on the idea of some form of strong leadership. They have looked at British politics. They have looked at the politics in which they grow up in. and they see failures at the democratic level. They see a weak, a soft, a centre that doesn't do anything, makes promises and fails to deliver them. They see nothing actually happening. And they also see a future where they have no democratic engagement, because they're never going to have a house. They're never going to have a family. Why would they? Why would they be able to? So the idea of having somebody strong to come through and blow away the cobwebs of our current system, I can see that being attractive. When I grew up, I was talking to not that old men and women who had been through the war, who knew what dictatorship was. Up until the 70s, we were in the Cold War. People knew what dictatorship was. They knew people being locked up, being sent to Siberia. They knew what this meant. And I don't think anybody under the age of 34 actually has a clue. It's all the other side of the world. It's in North Korea, it's in China. It's not here, and it's not part of their lived experience. And that's a big change.
And I wonder, actually, Nigel, if a lot of these people think, I don't know, like Donald Trump's a dictator. He got elected with a huge mandate. Do they understand what dictators is? Or, actually, are young people just so listless? They're so feeble-minded, they need to be told what to do and how to live.
I certainly think that Gwen's right about there's a disillusionment with democracy and the results of it. The idea that a dictatorship is the answer to it, or having the military rule over us, is obvious nonsense.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to Norman Baker. Good morning to Fraser Myers. They've got the stories making the headlines in the papers today. And let's, guys, talk about the Putin, Trump and Zelensky talks that went on yesterday. Norman, did this surprise you?
Well, nothing surprises me about President Trump at the moment. He's completely unpredictable. Look, I mean, the idea that there should be an end to the war is very clear. The idea that we got mediation from somebody is a positive thing. But I just don't necessarily trust Donald Trump to get it right. First of all, he's talking to Putin far more than he's talking to Zelensky, so the thing is not balanced. And actually, what Putin wants is to
Putin holds all the cards.
He does,
doesn't he?
He wants to hold on to all the land he's got so far. He's very happy, no doubt, to have a ceasefire, because what he can do is rearm and get his troops back up to full scratch. And Zelensky could be sold down the river, I think, if he's not careful. So the key thing about it is, not leaving aside the issue of what bit of land goes to whom, is making sure that this doesn't end up as a sort of part one of a part two process, in the sense that Putin rearms and then starts all over again, because he had the agreement in the 1990s, which led to Zelensky, well, not Zelensky, but Ukraine giving up its nuclear weapons. Well, that's gone by the by. He's taken advantage of that. The other thing, if you look at Trump in the first administration, when he was first president, I don't think I can remember a single occasion in 4 years when he criticised Putin for anything. And the suggestion is that his business interests are partly funded by the Russians. Now, that's the allegation. Needs to be investigated.
I was filming there just before the war started in Moscow. Donald Trump was adored.
Yeah,
adored. And I know there was a hotel in a shopping mall, and they were happy to give Trump for free the hotel as long as he put his name on it. So there was an adoration. However, be that as it may, these are the big boys talking to each other, and Putin's economy is banjaxed. And he needs this to stop. He needs to not only rearm, but to refinance.
And Russia has lost, a considerable number of men in the war as well. It hasn't been a complete walkover, even though you'd say that Russia is on the front foot at the moment. I think what's striking, actually, is how maximalist Putin's demands are, and they're staying that way from this phone call. As Norman was saying, he's demanding to be able to annex all of the territory that he's been able to control during the war, whereas already it seems like the US is... I mean, we know that Ukraine was not going to join NATO, for instance. We know that that would be impossible. NATO would never want to protect an already divided country. But for Hegseth to come out and say that there will be no return of Crimea, it seems like it's a weak negotiating position on Ukraine's behalf to start from.
But we know that President Trump does admire Vladimir Putin. He said that before. I was just reading back in 2022. He said, I knew Putin very well, got along with him great. He liked me, I liked him. He's a tough cookie. He's got a lot of great charm and a lot of pride. And he loves his country, you know. He loves his country.
He does. He likes dictators, is the reality of the situation. I mean, let's remember in the first Trump administration, he was over in North Korea, wasn't he, or talking to the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un. And what happened about that? You know, he's still got his nuclear capacity. He achieved nothing from that.
Yeah. But, Norman, how would... Let's just assume this all sorts itself out. How on earth does anybody accept Trump back onto the negotiating stage, the world stage, treat him in any way from a civilised point of view, which you would have to do? How do you then, as a world leader, walk up and shake hands with this guy?
Well, you have to. I mean, he's the leader of the Western world. I mean, he's the leader of the most important country in the world.
He's also wanted now for war crimes.
Well, yes, indeed. And you know, but power is legitimacy, actually, in our world. If you can control the biggest army, the biggest economy in the world, you have to recognise that. And that's the position Starmer's in. Starmer, no doubt, doesn't like him very much, but he's got to deal with him.
Fraser, let's look at something totally different, shall we? And we've got paintings and artworks doing the rounds again. But this time in 11 Downing Street. What's being swapped in and out?
So people might remember Keir Starmer taking down the painting of Margaret Thatcher because he found it unsettling. Now we're seeing Rachel Reeves taking down various artworks, a lot of busts and things like that of various previous prime ministers. But this is part of her drive to create more of a gender balance in the artworks in number 11. I mean, it mostly tends to be removing males rather than replacing them with females, because the artworks that are there are all related to COVID and many of the titles are things like COVID anxiety. They refer to social distancing.
Why would you want to remember all of that?
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. Most of us have memory hold that absolutely dreadful period. It seems that only Rachel Reeves seems to, perhaps she delights in it. I don't know. Perhaps she got a kick out of lockdown. I can only speculate. I mean, the paintings are sort of standard, modernist, contemporary art. I actually don't think they're that unattractive, but to replace them with, as replacements for prime ministers, and on the theme of COVID, it's very dreary. It seems that there is this obsession with having sort of gender balance in the portraiture, but I mean it's just a fact that there have been more male prime ministers. More male prime ministers, and obviously Reeves is the first female chancellor.
Are we paying for this, or is it artwork that's already around somewhere?
Oh, they'll be lent it, won't they, from somewhere or other?
I mean, there's a government art warehouse, which I've been to, actually, when I was a minister, because you choose your own art from what's in there.
Oh, that's fun.
It's down Tottenham Court Road. I have to say, by the time I got there, most of the decent stuff had gone, but it's very interesting to look through all what we do hold, actually, as a nation.
I'm not sure about this. I've just had a look online. So we've swapped out traditional busts, which everyone knows what that looks like, for this squiggly red cloud, it looks like, and I think that's meant to be COVID anxiety. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, not sure about that.
What is that?
It's someone's hair, isn't it?
That's something.
It's the state of mind of being anxious about the pandemic.
Yeah.
Just a quick word, Norman, on these new towns. We're talking about building design. We're talking about where these would be located. We're talking about what they would look like, how user-friendly and aesthetic they would be. What do you think?
Well, let me make a general point. People will be in favour of the generality of new towns, so they'll be against the specifics when it affects them and their local area. And I'm surprised by the papers that actually say that there's been a number volunteered. I've forgotten how many it was in here. But a number of towns have been volunteering these. 100 areas across England have applied to build towns. I don't know who's been applying to build towns, but I do know
Is it not an exciting thing? I mean, could it not regenerate your area for us?
It might do, but I mean, the reality is that Britain is already quite heavily populated in terms of building. I mean, not as bad as the Netherlands, but compared to most countries, we've got less open space, particularly in the southeast, which are where most of the applications apparently have come from.
And yet we've got a housing crisis.
We have got a housing crisis. And, of course, a new town will allow you to put in the infrastructure you need at the same time, the schools and the transport infrastructure and so on. So that's a positive thing about it. The hesitation I've got is that building something completely from scratch rather than it growing organically doesn't always work. I mean, some of the places around the country, new towns, do work and others don't.
OK. Thanks for that view, Norman. And Fraser, see you again in 40 minutes' time, guys. Thank you very much indeed. And we will return to the papers. As a matter of fact, have your say as well. Right now, we're going to get a weather update. Good morning to Alex Burkle.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year. And if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so a greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed each way at Aviemore after a lorry caught fire. There's disruption to some Calmac Ferry, Outer Hebrides and Firth of Clyde sailings this morning because of poor weather conditions, and delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to the 7:30 Stena Line sailing between Cairnryan and Belfast because of an operational incident. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed each way between junctions 10 and 11 between Burton Latimer and Findon because of a medical emergency. There are queues from junction 9 at Isham and 12 at Islip. The M11 in Essex is closed each way between junctions 8 and 7A between the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport Turn and Harlow North after an accident causing queues. The M40 in Buckinghamshire is closed southbound between junctions 5 and 4 from Stokenchurch to High Wycombe after an accident late last night, and trains have been stopped between Bristol Temple Meads and Westbury because of an incident. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
down to earth,
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
and most importantly, honest,
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Plans to get Britain building.
Yes, the Prime Minister today will unveil 12 new housing settlements after taking inspiration from the King.
Well, more than 100 sites have been suggested, but can this fix the country's housing crisis?
Peace for Ukraine. Donald Trump holds talks with Presidents Putin and Zelensky as he seeks to end the war there.
And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
Recession fears mounting, with GDP figures to be released imminently. We'll be speaking to Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride in just a moment.
As Elon Musk's son steals the show in the Oval Office, that's one way of putting it, we're asking, should children be kept out of the office? And the answer is yes, without a doubt. Look what a horrible little boy, he's hiding under the desk there. Right.
Is the Prince of Wales our trump card as the UK seeks closer ties with America? Could the royal family be our secret weapon to rebuild the special relationship?
Blue plaques. Is there one near you? A new blue plaque is unveiled. We'll be finding out who will be celebrated in this latest round.
And just one day to go until Valentine's Day. We'll be looking at what the High Street has got on offer.
And in sport, the last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison. Oh, it was a humdinger. With a last-minute equaliser, normally serene Arne Slot got sent off. Celtic got a late lifeline against Bayern Munich before the Champions League second leg in Bavaria next week. And how about snowball fighting for the next Winter Olympics?
Are you fed up with the cloud? There's actually a greater chance of seeing some breaks in it through today. Stick with us to find out if you're going to see any of the sunshine.
Hello there, very good morning to you wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening from. This is GB News. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and welcome to Breakfast.
Bridget Jones, this is all, you know, Valentine's weekend. Apparently this is the sellout film, the must-see film. I do have to say, I've never seen... How many Bridget Jones films have there been? Quite a lot.
3 or 4.
Yeah, but I haven't seen any of them.
Well, you're missing out.
You ever seen one, Paul?
Nope.
It's a great British institution.
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't either.
It's very, very good. It's the best of British films.
Well, why would it be? Is it what you would call a girls' film?
A rom-com.
Well, it's a rom-com, but it's done so well.
Well, I really like...
so popular.
As actors, I really like...
Danny Zellweger.
Like Renee?
No, the two...
John
the two
Wayne.
men. I was watching Hondo last night.
Oh, no, now look what I've done.
Yeah,
Hugh Grant and Colin Firth, you're talking about.
Hugh Grant and Colin Firth, two superb actors. I think
The best.
Grant is getting better as he gets older.
Absolutely, great actor.
He's now going into the villain era.
Yes.
I enjoy that.
Yes, he is.
Bridget Jones is one of the best British films there is.
I'd rather
Everybody
watch
loves
101 Dalmatians with Hugh Grant in it.
You can't say that because you've never actually watched Bridget Jones. So that's not fair.
But do you like a love film though? I mean, there's not even like an Affair to Remember.
No.
When Harry Met Sally, any of those?
Yeah,
that's a good film.
Brief Encounter.
That's it. Brief Encounter.
Yeah, it was a train. So she fell in love with this guy on the commuter train, and during the war. Oh, that's a classic love story.
1939.
Classic.
They met under Waterloo, under the clock at Waterloo Station.
GDP figures just broken. The economy in Britain has grown by. Why even announce this? By a magnificent 0.1%, not 1%, but 0.1% in the last quarter of 2024. So nothing has basically happened there.
Well, it's basically flatlining.
Reaction to that, yeah.
But the Chancellor will say that is a sign of growth. It's going in the right direction. We're not looking like we're going into a recession. If there's
Valentine's
growth,
Day
even at 0.1%,
will help the growth.
The economy.
In the economy.
If people get out there and support the high street and buy lots of things, yes.
That they don't need.
Yes, you do need. You need flowers on Valentine's Day.
Who is it about? Is it do men support? Do men do the buying or do women do the buying?
And it's not complicated. This is a public service announcement now. It's not complicated.
No.
You go to your supermarket. If you can go to a florist, great. Support local. Go to your florist. If you can't, you go into a supermarket. You get a bunch of red roses. Then you go to the card aisle. You pick up a card.
Excuse me. Any woman I've ever known, if I went to the supermarket or, as I used to do, the petrol station.
No, petrol is not the one. Petrol station is not the one. You do draw a line there, but supermarket flowers are fine on Valentine's Day.
Well, why is the petrol station not fine?
I do think that's...
But what's the difference between the flowers?
Because I think, at least if you go to a supermarket, you are parking up and going into a supermarket. I think.
Now, Ellie, you're being a flower snob.
It looks a bit lazy.
A flower is a flower.
No, there's a hierarchy.
If you were bought some flowers from the petrol station, Gerard decided to buy you some flowers from the petrol station, wrapped it up in like brown paper, you would never know the difference.
OK,
apart from the smell of petrol.
We do know the difference between our next guest, the Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride. Mel, good morning to you. Nothing much to report there on the GDP figures. I mean, basically flatlining.
Eamonn, good morning. Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're looking at an economy that is really just not going anywhere at all from a government that promised growth. And I'm afraid we're all going to be paying the price of that in different ways, in lower wages and lower living standards going forward. And really this has happened on their watch. They talked the economy down after the general election and destroyed business confidence. They had that terrible, disastrous budget, which of course whacked up taxes, particularly on businesses, the national insurance increases and so on. And that is at the root of what you're seeing at the moment, I'm afraid. So not good news. And I say that with no pleasure whatsoever.
No pleasure, not good news. And not going to get better because those national insurance tax hikes have yet to come in.
Absolutely right, Eamonn. So in the first part of April, when the new tax year comes along, that's when the tax increases will then bite. That's not just the increase in the rate of national insurance for employers, it's also reducing the threshold, i.e. dragging in far more lower paid and part-time workers into paying national insurance for the first time, and that of course will have a disproportionate impact on younger people and the kind of businesses you think of leisure and retail in particular that rely on those kind of workers. So without some kind of significant U-turn here, I think the near term, at least near medium term, does not look great. We saw the Bank of England actually halving their forecast for growth for this year, for example, in the last week alone.
Well, of course, Labour will say that they need time to turn the ship around. They will say that they've had a dire inheritance. We've heard so much about that. And it is worth pointing out that the economy grew only 0.1% in the summer last year. These are exactly the same figures as we saw in July. So surely Labour can't be blamed for the figures in July.
So, well, the inheritance there, in fact, was that we had the fastest growing economy in the G7 at the time that we transferred power to Labour. We had near record level of employment, near record level of unemployment. We'd had real wages growing for 13 consecutive months. And, of course,
and you had the highest debt level
inflation
since the 1960s, 100% of GDP.
So, yeah, so debt has been climbing for a good long period over different governments. We did, of course, have the cost of living crisis around the Ukraine war, and we had to support people through that, and of course COVID as well, and supporting businesses and employment, and that came with a £400 billion price tag, and I think those measures were the right thing to have done at that time. So what we ended up with was getting inflation down, for example, to bang on 2% on the day of the general election. Well, we're now seeing that rise again, and that's going to mean, you know, higher prices for people. I know you were just talking about buying things before I came on. You know, the price of those things, I'm afraid, is going to be going up, and that's going to make people poorer.
But Shadow Chancellor, when you look at you know, HS2 being completed, when you look at, you know, a new runway at Heathrow, sort of thing, and what we're talking about today, 12 new towns all over the country, the effort is being put in. Give them time, as Ellie was saying there, and maybe it will all come good.
I think the problem here, Eamonn, is about time, actually, because if you look at the damage that this government's done to the economy, it's been done under their watch in real time, exactly the kind of things that we've just been discussing around consumer and business confidence and taxes and so on. But if you look at a lot of what they're saying to try and boost the economy, these are very, very long-term issues. I mean, Heathrow Airport that you mentioned, we might not see that coming on stream until the 2030s, 2040s, or who knows, even the 2050s is not an impossibility if it happens at all. So I'm afraid that whilst those things are all important, and absolutely we should be looking towards the longer term, I'm afraid the damage has been done really around that last budget in particular, and particularly around taxing the living daylights out of businesses, the very businesses that we were looking to actually provide that growth.
Can I ask you about Kemi Badenoch? Because it was an awkward PMQ's performance from her yesterday, wasn't it? Sir Keir Starmer accused her of not doing her homework. She was criticising a tribunal decision that actually happened under your government. And he also claimed that she was scripted, and her script didn't allow for her to listen to the answer. I mean, does she need to change her prep team when it comes to PMQs? Because she doesn't seem to be cutting through or going with the right attack lines.
Well, I was in there. I was sitting next but one to her, and I've observed her over all the PMQs that she's done. And I think generally, of course, I would say that I think she's actually been getting stronger. I think particularly yesterday, she was there very clearly holding Keir Starmer to account. She asked him a number of times whether he would appeal the decision that a court had made in respect of migrants coming from Gaza, but using the Ukraine migration scheme, and she was right to press him on that. And on the three questions where she pressed him, he failed to answer that question. So I think the real story actually is that Keir Starmer simply does not answer the question. He's not nimble of foot. He tends to just trot out the same lines each time, and I think that is what we saw yesterday.
We may be getting a few questions answered between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Trump says he's opened talks with President Putin to end the war in Ukraine. You know, a lot of people can hardly believe this, but it looks as though things are moving. What's your take?
Well, I think clearly there is a big difference between the Biden administration and the new administration under Donald Trump. He is clearly pushing very hard now to reach an end point for this particular conflict. I think we do need to think a little bit about what all these statements exactly mean. We've got the Munich Security Conference going on at the moment. I think we'll know a bit more detail perhaps in the next 24 hours. But fundamentally, we should be standing by Ukraine. The invasion was totally unjustified, totally immoral on the part of Putin. It's a threat that's not been just there for Ukraine, but by extension, I think, to the Western world and our allies in particular. And I think that's why it's very important that we stand by Ukraine. And look, let's hope that we do end up with a sensible peace deal, but it has to be something with which Ukraine is comfortable, and make sure that we underscore the importance of our security as well going forward.
Just finally and very briefly, Shadow Chancellor, I just wonder, will you be contributing to the gross domestic product by investing in flowers over the next couple of days?
I believe there's a very important 14th of February about to occur, and I think there could well be some flowers in the Stride household. Yeah,
very good. Doing your bit. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor. Thank you. We'll leave it there.
Well, to talk about getting Britain building, we're joined now by former Conservative Special Advisor Lauren McKevitt. Good to see you this morning, Lauren. So what do you make of this plan, these new towns? Will it solve our housing crisis in this country?
I very much hope it will at least go some direction towards solving the housing crisis in this country. I think it's quite easy to make an announcement saying these are the 12 locations and we're just going to get on and do it. And I'm going to make sure that we remove every obstacle to do it. But as with sort of other things that the government have done over the last 6 months, it remains to be seen if they understand just how interconnected bits of government are when they make decisions like this. What makes you want to move to an area? You think about what amenities there are, you think about doctor surgeries, school places, and you think about transportation. Are there new transport links going to this area? That's a Department for Transport issue. Is there going to be a new rail link? Are there going to be buses? It's hard enough trying to get a bus in rural parts of the United Kingdom at the moment, in England, where buses are devolved around the United Kingdom. But is transport involved in a part of decision making? Because if the government are just saying, yes, we can get spades in the ground and build these homes, that's a great step in the right direction. But the cross-government effort that needs to be involved in making sure these towns as whole entities are livable towns
and are served
is a kind of joined-up thinking that the government over the course of the last 20, 30 years has been really poor at.
What way would you approach this? I mean, do you think the idea of creating new entities, new towns, new places to go to and come from, or would you build and grow existing areas?
I think that there's a lot to be said for completely new towns. I think the way we've done development, and this has certainly been the case out where I'm from in Gloucestershire, where we have bolted on to pre-existing towns, we have failed to add in sufficient infrastructure. We failed to upgrade sewage systems. We failed to make sure that there were increased school places, increased GP provision, better roads, more buses. And so I think that perhaps if the government is given a plan to build entirely new entities, maybe they'll get that right from the outset, where they've so far failed to get it right in kind of retrospect when they've bolted onto towns. But I do think that kind of joined-up thinking across government is where we've seen real trouble across multiple areas of government work over the course of the last 20-odd years. And so my concern would be that they build new towns and they don't put in adequate GP provision.
And it also depends, Lauren, what they're going to build, aesthetically, what they're going to look like. We're going to show you some examples here of where we sort of feel that they didn't really get it right. This is the Barbican, first of all, that you're going to see. And you would describe this as what sort of architecture?
So the Barbican is a brutalist example of architecture. And this is, I'm feeling a bit bad for the Barbican because the Barbican does have selling points. It was designed with a purpose in mind. It's designed as a kind of a city within a city. I don't think it looks very nice, and I think that there is an element of aesthetic that has been overlooked by people like the brutalists. But I think that now we've moved to a point where we understand that if new build is going in somewhere, it does have to look good. Otherwise, the objections from nearest and dearest they're going to be really vociferous.
But interesting then that Labour removed that requirement for beauty, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
We're being reassured in this press release today that they are going to be beautiful towns and beautiful houses.
But beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
It is.
It is subjective, isn't it?
It very much is, and I think I wonder if just putting a line in somewhere that says it must be beautiful was enough to be able to give enough of a prescription for how that should feature.
Well, when you look back at the past, 60s and 70s architecture, horrible.
I know. I think if we have a repeat of that, we're going to be in some trouble. Well, what I did like about the Prime Minister attending the King's new town, one of the things I think he said that was quite important was when he went in there, what he couldn't tell the difference between was what was social housing and what wasn't social housing. And I think that's a really good way of building, that you can't tell in the quality of the build whether or not you've built a social home or a non-social home.
What I think is essential? I just think it's ridiculous building areas that have to be serviced by cars, right? That you live and they're little car islands. Goodness sake, give me somewhere that has a chemist shop, that has a dry cleaners, that has a news agency or whatever in it. Just give me some local
This has been a problem with some of the new towns that have been previously. There's one that's down near Farnham where when the new town was built and they were all encouraged to go and move there, they were promised that there would be a superstore built at some point. There'd be, a big Aldi or a big Sainsbury's. They were promised there'd be increased bus routes and there just aren't. And so everybody has to have a car because the amenities that were promised when they were all encouraged to move out to this new town just never were delivered. And that's why I was saying it's really important that in building new towns, there is cohesive thought around all the different elements of that build, the GPs, the schools, the roads, private enterprise, the chemists, all of that. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
All of that and more. What would you want to see in your perfect new town? Let us know. Share it with us. Maybe even share some pictures with us as well. And where has it gone horribly wrong? Let us know that as well. Lauren, always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very
much
much
for your ideas. Appreciate that.
Now, 18 minutes past 7. Let's take a look at some other stories coming into the newsroom this morning.
Well, the Prime Minister has told the families of the people killed in the Nottingham attacks that a judge-led public inquiry will take place in a matter of weeks. During a meeting at Number 10, the families of the victims were told by Sir Keir Starmer that a number of different agencies would be scrutinised by the probe.
Israel's defence minister has warned that if Hamas does not release Israeli hostages by Saturday, the gates of hell will open on them. Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered the country's military to gather in and around the territory as fears grow over the truce. Hamas has suspended the release of hostages after accusing Israel of breaching ceasefire obligations, including delaying the return of Palestinians to northern Gaza.
3 links, or linkses, illegally released in the Cairngorms. So who has the links that they're able to release anyway in the first place, legally or illegally? But they're doing well. They've completed a 30-day quarantine even, at Edinburgh Zoo. The Royal Zoological Society of Scotland, which runs the zoo, trapped the cats in early January after they were spotted in the Scottish mountains. It's been confirmed all 3 are female and believed to be less than a year old. Do you think it's a very handsome animal?
Oh, beautiful. And look, it's like she's smiling at us. She's very happy to be in the zoo, I think.
Yeah, but think of what that'll do to the little robin redbreasts and everything in your back garden.
Well, she's not in the back garden, she's in a zoo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
She's fine. They are so cute.
Of course, Lynx is a very good deodorant.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't really like the smell. Sorry.
Well,
why do you like it?
Well, a number of tins of Lynx aren't called lynxes, are they?
This is what I mean. I think it's like fish. I don't think you can have
plural
lynxes.
Yeah, so they're just...
We should probably find this out. I'll have a look.
Alex Burkhill, good morning. What's the weather going to be like?
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year. And if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so a greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump were together in the Oval Office yesterday, but they weren't alone. Musk irritatingly brought along his irritating little son. What's his name?
XAE.
You're kidding me.
XAE dash.
He's called X.
X, the eighth.
X.
The eighth, yeah, something like that, yeah. I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it, but it's spelled XAE and then 8 in Roman numerals.
What the heck?
Yeah.
He goes by the name, I've seen it, of X.
He sounds like a science project.
Oh.
Don't you think? I think they call him X for short.
Mm.
I think it's quite nice he came into the Oval Office. He was very cute.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
Don't you think?
You shouldn't be bringing sprogs to the office.
No, I think it's quite nice sometimes. Just for a visit, which I think this was. If you brought your kids in,
he was making an announcement with the President of the United States, so he was, and he has his kid there who's jumping all around on the camera, doing this and that.
Shows the human side of Elon Musk, I think, having this there. Anyway, let us know what you think. Should you be bringing children into the office? gbnews.com/you'll say.
I think you've got to press that. Yeah.
Oh, I do. Sorry, I'm in charge of the steps.
So this is the Great British Giveaway, parts 1 and 2, all very good. Have a go.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Now, as we've been saying this morning, Elon Musk's son stole the show, didn't he, at a press conference?
X
squared
something or other, whatever.
Well, he stole the show at a press conference with President Trump in the Oval Office on Tuesday. He pulled faces, he mimicked his dad, he interrupted.
He was completely irritating.
It's quite cute, though. Look, there he is cuddling into his dad. That's nice. It led to him making headlines all around the world.
So, anyway, would you bring your kid to work? Would that be part of your
routine?
Yeah, your routine. Would you want to do that? Or can they become a complete distraction? Answer, they can become a complete distraction. Journalist and mother Emma Wolfe, who believes you should be able to bring them, and parenting expert Annette Kello, who believes children should just be left at home. Now, Annette, tell us about why you think they should be left at home.
Well, I think children, on occasion, you never know what's going to happen, and on occasion, I think it's OK to bring them in, but generally you should try to leave them at home if you can. Of course, things happen. My babysitter let me down and I brought my son into GB News and he had a great time. Yeah. Backstage, and it was absolutely fine and nobody knew. But I do think if you can, try to get the childcare sorted. But obviously we're living in an economy where that's very difficult.
Did you have a great time, or were you able to relax knowing that he was there?
Yes, because there were some lovely people there looking after him. Yeah. But I do appreciate children can be loud and it can be distracting. I think if we're looking at the boss's point of view as well, they might get annoyed with it.
Emma, I honestly would have no difficulty bringing my dog to work. Oh. I love my dog. My dog is so wonderful and peaceable and really nice and would get on with everybody and not cause any sort of fuss. Any of my kids in their time, no.
So my little one is exactly the same age as ex-Musk, pretty much 4 years old. And as a feminist, as a single mom, I'd love to argue. I would love to help you out and argue with children in the workplace. And like Annette, I have once or twice taken my kiddo into GB News and everybody's lovely behind the scenes. But the truth is, it's a nightmare having children in the workplace. Young children do not belong in the workplace. Of course, you can have the gimmicky kind of bring your child to work day. But in general, it's a distraction. It's a distraction from work. It's not safe. It's not professional. OK, you can do a press conference and have them leaping around, and I'm sure they have a whole team of nannies off camera. But the fact is, think about most modern workplaces. You've got wires, you've got leads, you've got computers, you've got microphones, you've got, I don't know, you work as a nurse or a doctor or a bus driver or in a shop or in a science lab or in a factory. You can't bring your child to work. This is a kind of, you know, privileged middle class thing once in a while to bring your child into the office. And Ellie, it's all right for you to say, oh, that's so cute and everything. Having your child at work with you is actually deeply stressful. You can't focus. You know, you're constantly aware that they're probably distracting other people. You're constantly aware that they're about to jump on someone's keyboard. It's not really the place for them, actually.
But Emma, in terms of politicians, so in terms of Elon Musk and JD Vance as well, we've seen this week getting off a plane in Paris with his children and his wife. Is it not quite nice in that sense to see, especially with men, to see that family side, to see that softer side than with their children?
Absolutely. I mean, and I was thinking about Stella Creasy. Do you remember her breastfeeding in the House of Commons? Certain people can do it. And you're right. It's lovely to see a man with his family, you know, doing a bit of childcare. But that's the key to it. It's very performative. The fact that JD Vance posed in front of the camera with his children for a few photos does not mean that he is doing the grueling work that women, mostly women, juggling their work with childcare, getting out of the house in time to get to the office or to get to the shop or to get to their shift and the nurses or the care home, or for me to get to a studio at 4 a.m, juggling all of that. That's the side that we don't see.
Yeah.
Children and working is actually an incredible struggle for some of us.
Annette, being the society that we are today, I'm just surprised that it's not sort of statutory or obligatory for this to happen, and we don't see more of it.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing is Elon is the boss, and there's very different rules for bosses versus people that are working there. Now, obviously, you couldn't have a brain surgeon going in to perform brain surgery with a child there, or a doctor doing the rounds. This just wouldn't work. I do think on occasion, if you're bringing a child into work, a lot of people work from home and their boss doesn't even know that their child is there because they're completing their work, they're completing the task. Now, it's very caveat in the sense that you don't know what kind of job will work with children, but I do think there's a sense of we have to be flexible. The flexible working bill was brought out last year so that parents can have flexible working, and sometimes that does involve children. So I think we need to be conscious of that when we're looking at the workplace as a whole.
And the age is important.
Yes.
You know, 7-year-old is fine. A 2-year-old, 3-year-old, nightmare.
No, not with a baby. No. There is no way that I think people would have very difficulties with a baby, particularly then.
Emma and Annette, thank you both very much indeed. Their views, you air your views, have your say with us this morning. Thank you both very much indeed.
Stay with us. Coming up, Paul Coit will be here with all of your latest sports news. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed in both directions either side of Aviemore after a lorry caught fire causing delays. There's disruption to some Calmac, Outer Hebrides and Firth of Clyde sailings this morning because of poor weather conditions. There are delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to the 7:30 Stena Line sailing between Cairnrun and Belfast because of an operational incident. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed each way between junctions 10 and 11 between Burton Latimer and Findon because of a medical emergency. There are queues from junction 9 near Kettering and from junction 12 near Thrapston. The M11 in Essex is closed southbound between junctions 8 and 7A from the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn to Harlow North after an accident causing queues. Northbound, though, has reopened. On the M26 in Kent, it's taking half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks, and delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to trains between West Bournemouth, Bath Spa and Chippenham.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. Maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Paul Coyte's here with us. Morning.
Morning. I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to go really fast.
Okay.
Right, go really fast.
Everton versus Liverpool. It was the final Merseyside derby at Goodison last night. It was a humdinger. The drama, the tension. Everton score an equaliser in the 98th minute, and then there was a pitch invasion, and then we had Abdoulaye Doucouré, who's from Everton. That's him going over to the Liverpool supporters, giving it the big one after they scored. Not good, because then it turned into a melee and a bit of furore, and there was a bit of argy-bargy between the two teams, and it ended up the normally relaxed, calm Arne Slot got himself sent off because he went marching over to the referee.
Because he wasn't so calm.
He wasn't so calm.
Do you know, the first thing I'd complain about, mate, I said all the time, nobody's interested in a match of 98 minutes. 8 minutes extra time, 8 minutes of Fergie time, for goodness sake.
See, I disagree with you, because I think...
Totally wrong. You should be allowed to manipulate and use the time and waste the time if you want. That's part of the strategy of the team.
Yeah, but it's awful. What a terrible way of watching football, where people are rolling around on the floor. You're so wrong.
You never even noticed before they introduced this extra time business. If they'd have played 2 minutes or whatever, you think, right, you just accept it.
Yeah, too much of it. I'm happy for it to be added on. Not too, as long as you know how long it's going to be added on. But I mean, 10 minutes is a long time. But the more of it you can get, the better. Anyway, we'll agree to disagree. Celtic won Bayern Munich 2 in the Champions League, so that's the first leg at Parkhead. So they've got a late goal. Celtic. So still
Harry Kane playing.
Harry Kane scored as well. Harry Kane scored a volley. Good old Harry. Although not so good for Celtic. Although it was his 29th goal in 29 games. What a player he is. So they go to Bayern Munich. They're back to Bavaria next week. And if they can turn it over, well, then they go into the last 16 of the Champions League.
Good luck to them.
Cricket was terrible. Again, Champions Trophy coming up next week. England's one-day team really not doing very well. Had a terrible time in India. Tennis. Mixed doubles.
Yeah.
How about this? Mixed doubles. The US Open have decided to hold mixed doubles separately as a standalone event. And players aren't happy because they think, oh, you're just treating this as an exhibition. So the US Open are saying that what we're doing, the reason we're doing this, it means that more singles players will be able to play in the mixed doubles instead of it being in the middle of the tournament.
But securing those players, their availability must be very difficult.
I agree. I think it's nonsense. Sara Errani and Andrea Vavasori, who are the current US Open mixed doubles champions from Italy, said that making decisions just following the logic of profit is profoundly wrong in some situations. They're calling it a pseudo-exhibition status, and they're not very happy about it. Have a look at this. This is some tennis that maybe they can put into the US Open. See what you make of this. This is dinner tennis.
Oh, my word, it's a table there.
People having dinner in the middle.
Well, I wouldn't trust.
Would you not?
I wouldn't be risking that.
Would you not fancy that?
No.
It'd land in the soup. And go
I
all over
know.
you.
I'd be more worried it landed full in my
Land in
face.
the back of your head.
I
yeah,
know.
your
Look
face,
at that.
yeah.
Dinner tennis.
No, it's
Well,
not
what's the attraction of that?
I don't know whether it's the attraction of playing tennis with people in front of you or whether it's actually having dinner with people playing tennis around you.
Well, I agree with Ellie that you would be just too nervous. You just
I'd be too nervous to eat. Yeah.
Especially at cheers, and it's that's good.
Yeah.
No, you're going to be
Glass
very
be
careful.
gone, yeah.
I know.
Right.
You're in on the action. It's very interactive.
You
Very
promised
much
us
so.
snowballs earlier
Yes,
on.
I did. It's the 35th annual Snowball International Fight in Japan.
So it's a competition?
It's a proper competition, and they are serious about trying to get this into the Winter Olympics. Sports Yukigassen, they call it, and that's the official body in Japan. So the way it works, 2 teams, 2 minutes, all the snowballs you can throw. You get points, whoever you hit. If you get hit, you get eliminated. So either it's done on points or if there's none of the team left. See, he's got a paddle. Surely that's got to be illegal.
Yeah.
Well, he looks like that Chinese character in Father Ted.
Yes.
That they were all complaining about yesterday.
Well, yes, I think probably that's the hat.
Oh, that was like the game at Everton last night.
It is, you know what? And look at it. I thought it was a Newcastle fan. He's got no shirt on there. He's playing.
Why are they
snowballs.
wearing vest tops in the snow?
I think they're just showing off. I think they're just trying to look harder in the snow with no skin. But finally, look at this. Salt Lake City, where the Olympics is going to be, the Winter Olympics, they're getting a bit previous. They've advertised as a tweet look at that, 9 years to go. I mean, you're going to look at that and think, wow, I can hardly wait. It's only 9 years now. And
it's a bit premature,
It's a bit premature. It's a bit previous from Salt Lake City.
OK, well, it's only about 35 minutes till you're back again for the moment. Thank you very much.
That was a lot of sport, wasn't it? That was a lot of
Very well, yeah.
Very good.
Speedy. Do stay with us still to come. We'll go through today's top stories with Norman Baker and Fraser Myers. We'll go through the newspapers with them. But first, if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
We have some heavy thundery rain affecting eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, there is also a band of rain pushing in from the west tomorrow, affecting parts of Madeira later on and pushing into the far west of Spain and Portugal as well. Also some hefty rain affecting Italy, but it's around the Adriatic coastline where we're going to have some heavy thundery downpours, even some significant snow for Croatia in particular, with 10 to 20 centimetres even to lower levels. Elsewhere, a mostly fine story.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Inside Number 9, stage/fright. So Inside Number 9, massive cult BBC 2 show. One half of the League of Gentlemen, so Steve Pemberton, Reece Shearsmith, they are the kind of creative geniuses behind all those sorts of shows. So it's weird, wonderful, macabre, sort of very, very black comedy. And this is their kind of farewell thank you to fans. It is such a niche show and such an extraordinary success already ticket-wise. It's virtually sold out. We're hoping it's going to actually extend. Stunning. So basically, it's 2 or 3 of their episodes mashed together. I haven't seen the show. Absolutely fine. So for me, it was actually just a revelation. Other friends have seen the shows and they were just ecstatically happy. The only new bit is an opening segment of about 10 minutes when the stage pulls back and we see seats facing up with a few people dotted around. It's the most fantastic play on terrible behaviour in theatre audiences. With one man getting increasingly annoyed and basically doing the things that we've possibly thought about but will never do, and all the misbehaviours meet gruesome ends. So don't try this at home. But, you know, certainly a couple of times you've been like, ah! The rest of the show, the first half is based on Bernie Clifton's dressing room. It's two old-time comedians reunited, very melancholy. Second half is a very gothic-y kind of Grand Guignol, sort of schlocky horror, eyeballs coming out of the face, paintings moving, and then there's a show within rehearsals. There's a ghost, brilliant riffs on everything that's been going on in the West End, handheld camera scenes, which they're mocking, and pop stars cranked into major theatre productions.
I'm liking some of the satire you're describing here.
It's so much fun.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Norman Baker, Fraser Myers, they've got the papers in front of them today. And we're talking about this, is screaming out of a lot of the papers is telling us that Bridget Jones, the movie,
It's out today.
Is out today. And
Loads of 5-star reviews.
Will you be going to see that?
Do you know what? I actually texted my mum and my sister last night and I said, when are we going to see Bridget Jones? Neither of them have replied to me.
Norman, you and I don't know where Fraser is on this. Have you seen it, Fraser? Have you ever seen one?
I've seen the first one, yeah.
Right.
And it's good, right?
It's great.
Great 90s rom-com.
Yeah, and she's a great character.
Great
we love
characters.
her. She drinks wine. She chain smokes. I think she's
real.
a great role model. She's a real woman. Renée Zellweger.
Except she's not real. She's from Texas.
Well, no, but she is. What I was going to say, she does the best. British accent of any American actress I've ever seen.
Right.
I'm with you,
It's
Fraser.
absolutely, her British accent is faultless. And then when you listen to her accepting awards or, in interviews in Hollywood and her strong Texas accent, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
There's also been a rumour doing the rounds that the Colin Firth character, Mark Darcy, there's a rumour that it was based on Keir Starmer.
No.
I don't know if people have heard this because around the time when Helen Fielding was writing her columns, Keir Starmer was representing the McLibel case. And so he was seen as like, oh, who is this trim, straight-laced, good-looking young hotshot lawyer? It's taken years for Helen Fielding to deny that it's based on Keir Starmer, but for a very long time she refused to confirm or deny it. She fueled the rumours, but she's finally said, no, it's not based on Sir Keir.
The hair's very similar, actually, come to think of it.
Is there a Norman Baker character in there?
There should be.
Be the Hugh Grant or whatever. So, Norman, you haven't and you feel no desire to go and see it?
I don't think about Bridget Jones. I've no idea who she is or what it is or anything.
Well, get to know
Not
Norman.
interested, really.
You're missing out.
Well, no, I mean, the last one I went to see, which is a very good one, was the biopic on Bob Dylan, which I thought was a brilliant film.
Would you recommend that?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well,
I'll be going to see it, hopefully.
Where is she at and why is it called...
She's a single mum,
Yeah.
that's what I know. And there's a love interest with a much younger man. But I've also read in the reviews this morning that it's a tearjerker. Sad. Do you know anything about this, Fraser?
She's a widow, I think, by this point.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Sorry if that's
Is she
spoiled
not
the
married
previews.
then to Hugh Grant or Colin Firth?
No, she's single, but then I'm sure she'll find the love of her life eventually.
I'm looking to you to explain this.
According to
So
the
what is
review,
Hugh- but Hugh Grant and Colin Firth have been in all the films.
They have, yeah.
Are they forlorn loves or what are they?
There's been a bit of a love triangle.
All right, OK.
So we'll have to see. The fourth film is released today.
OK. Norman, what are firms likely to miss deadline for clean-up work, says the Eye?
I make no apology for coming back to this. I raised it, I think, last time I was on the paper review, but this is disgraceful. The water privatisation's been the most catastrophic mistake, I think, made in the last 30, 40 years in terms of privatisations. And Ofwat, who are supposed to look after the public interest, are as much use as a chocolate fire guard when it comes to looking for the public. Water companies like Thames Water, I mean, they promised to carry out 812 schemes as part of a wider national programme by 2025 to meet regulations. 812. They've carried out fewer than 100. And what are Ofwat doing about it? What Thames Water are doing, who are going to go bust very shortly, is handing out tons of money to their shareholders, tons of money to their top executives in terms of bonuses, and no one's doing anything about it. These guys should be prosecuted.
So basically, if we were the UK government, or you and I, wanted to make a load of money, you could do a lot worse than buying a water company.
Yeah, historically, that's right. You just buy a water company, hand out lots of bonuses to yourself, lots to your shareholders. You know that Ofwat's useless as a regulator. You just carry on, and that's what's been happening for the last 30 years.
Fraser, very front page of the Telegraph and a number of papers today. This story about a woman who's seeking to secure asylum in Britain. What extent has she gone to? Because she's been turned down a number of times, but she's now got it. She's got her asylum. How did she get it?
On the 9th attempt, her 9th appeal, she's won asylum by claiming to be part of a terrorist group. Now, that might sound pretty extraordinary, and it is, but it was because she's basically chosen this group, the indigenous people of Biafra. She says, I'm a member of this, and therefore, if I'm sent back to Nigeria, I will be persecuted by the government.
Why can no one see through that? Why can no one...
Well, this is what's extraordinary. The judge did see through it. All of the judges acknowledged that this claim, that she's not a part of this group, that she's made this claim entirely for bogus reasons, entirely for the purpose of seeking asylum. But they've decided that because she's made the claim, therefore she'd be endangered. So basically, this is opening the door to say that, you know, you should come to the UK even if you're not a political dissident. Of course, the reason we have an asylum system is because we want to protect people who are political dissidents. I think that's the right thing to do. I think, you know, imagine people from Hong Kong or, you know, various other places around the world where people are persecuted.
Norman,
but unfortunately, it just means you come to the UK, you have nothing to do with politics, and you say, I'm a dissident, I'll be persecuted.
Norma, we've got a horrendous story in the Metro about children from Haiti, and you've got a minute to tell me about it.
Well, I apologise for raising this, but I think people ought to know what's happening in Haiti. It's a completely failed state. There's no proper government. It's being run by gangs. And what's happening is children are now, 50% of the children are now involved in gangs. They have to be, because if they don't get involved in gangs, they are tortured, they're raped, their families are killed. It's horrendous what's happening there. 2 million people on the verge of starvation in Haiti. 85% of the capital run by gangs. And, you know, one kid quoted here saying he was told to burn bodies. He didn't have the heart for it, he said. But
that
he
was
told,
his job.
That was his job. If he didn't do it, his family would be killed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely horrendous what's happening in Haiti.
I know.
Not reported on at all.
No, that's why I wanted to raise it this morning, because we ought to know about this.
Well, all I know about Haiti is earthquakes. You know, that's so the place is devastated enough. I mean,
it's a complete mess, absolute mess. There's no law. There's no law.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much indeed. They're back again in about 40 minutes' time. Norman and Fraser, appreciate it.
Let us know what you think about any of the stories today. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's get a check on the weather now with Alex Burkill.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year. And if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed in both directions either side of Aviemore after a lorry caught fire, causing delays. There's disruption to some Calmac, Outer Hebrides and Firth of Clyde sailings this morning because of poor weather conditions. Delays of up to 3/4 of an hour to two Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of an operational incident. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed in both directions between junctions 10 and 11 between Burton Latimer and Findon because of a medical emergency. There are queues from junction 9 near Kettering and from junction 12 near Thrapston. Delays to on the A6 and A45 as you divert. The M11 in Essex is closed southbound between junctions 8 and 7A from the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn to Harlow North after an accident causing long delays. And on the M26 in Kent, it's taking nearly half an hour in queues approaching the M25 because of roadworks.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
We're doubling your chances to win in our latest Great British giveaway with 2 fabulous prize bundles up for grabs. There's 2 lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16 along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. And the best news is 2 lucky winners are going to win. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. 1 entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you, and it's time to get Britain building.
The Prime Minister is set to unveil 12 new housing settlements after taking inspiration from the King.
More than 100 sites have been suggested, but can they fix the country's housing crisis? That's the question.
Peace for Ukraine. Donald Trump holds talks with Presidents Putin and Zelensky as he seeks to end the war in Ukraine.
And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
this mean for Ukraine? Here's Major General Chip Chapman.
So they want credible security guarantees, and unless you have that, you won't get this durable and sustainable peace.
The UK economy is on the up, well, just, as GDP figures rise by 0.1%. But is it a small relief for Chancellor Rachel Reeves?
We're looking at an economy that is really just not going anywhere at all, from a government that promised growth, growth, growth.
Is the Prince of Wales a trump card for the country? As Britain seeks closer ties with America, could the royals be our secret weapon to rebuilding the special relationship?
New blue plaques are unveiled today. We'll be finding out who's going to be celebrated.
And in the sport, the last ever Merseyside derby ends with more drama than anybody could have expected. Celtic lost to Bayern Munich at Parkhead, but my voice is going up because they do have a lifeline for the second leg in Bavaria. It's not over yet, and if you're planning a trip to the World Cup in 2034, you better get used to watching football without beer.
Are you fed up with the cloud? There's actually a greater chance of seeing some breaks in it through today. Stick with us to find out if you're going to see any of the sunshine.
Hello there, very good morning to you. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, you are very, very welcome. And remember, just say to your player, play GB News, and we'll be there. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Just looking at the new blue plaques that have been going up, and it's very spooky. Audrey Hepburn, Mark Bolan, they're talking about, and I think rightly so. Yesterday, I was just going along. I was in Primrose Hill in London.
Oh, nice.
And I saw a blue plaque, and I thought, who's that? And it was W.B. Yeats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He lived in Primrose Hill?
Well, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know
He's
that.
an Irish poet, politician, writer,
Right.
whatever. So that was interesting with him. And then on my way home, who else did I see? You'll be interested in this. Alfred Hitchcock.
Where do you live?
Yes, he lived in... That's a very
Brixton, I think, wasn't it?
I know that... No, not Brixton.
South London, I think.
It's a big road going out to the airport. It's the 40 or something.
All right.
But he's on the main road, front of the road. You wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
Too much traffic. But what a genius.
Oh, yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
I love a blue plaque. I'll always stop to read a blue plaque.
I do, but
Even
you've got
if
to be
I'm
dead.
driving, I'll slow down.
You've got to be dead, though. That's the thing. Got to be. I think there's laws. I think you've got to be dead for 10 years. 10 years until you can have a blue plaque. So you can't have a blue plaque outside your house unless you're dead.
Why couldn't you?
20 years?
Why couldn't you just die and get a blue plaque? 20 years.
I think, yeah. It's the heritage law that you've got to be dead for.
I didn't know that because I asked Eamonn this morning. I said, Eamonn, surely you've got a blue plaque? And he said, yeah, I've got a blue plaque in Belfast. And it says, here's where the legendary Irish broadcaster Eamonn Holmes lived. And I was like, oh, great, yeah, that sounds
I'll
nice.
also lie.
Yeah, and then you were pulling my leg, weren't you? Because he doesn't.
I do have a tree in Belfast.
Do you?
Yes.
Who grew that for you?
Great Victoria Street. It's opposite the Europa Hotel, and there was a lovely tree growing until someone came along and broke it and peed all over it.
Oh, dear.
So I saw it one night. I was bringing someone to show it.
What is it? Is it a mighty oak? Or is it just...
It wasn't too mighty. I think they replanted it, though.
Right, OK.
They replanted it, which was nice.
You know, there's a blue plaque round my way. Mrs Mills.
Oh,
yeah, Mrs Mills, the old Mrs Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lived in Loughton in Essex, yeah.
I do have a mural of myself.
A mural, do you?
Yes, a mural.
I love a mural.
And it's outside a chip shop.
You got a chip shop mural?
On Antrim Road, yeah. So it's a picture of me. I think it's to commemorate I'm a good customer there. But it's a big painting
What, with
of
a
me.
battered sausage in your hand?
Yeah.
Nice, really?
Yeah, they did that. I think Barry McGuigan's on it as well. But it's big. It's embarrassing, actually.
Because you frequent it so often.
Yeah.
And it's so embarrassing, you like to mention it every now and again.
Yeah.
That's a great fact, though.
I love
I have a bus with my face on it.
Anything else?
as well.
A bus, a tree, a chip shop.
A taxi.
God, and a taxi?
I've got a taxi.
Wow.
A black cab, which is painted white.
It's like the Eamonn Holmes generation game, seeing what is it, what's next?
Eamonn, what would you like? What would you like? Is there anything on that list that you're yet to achieve that you'd really...
Yeah, good question, yeah.
The blue plaque.
You need to be dead, though. So
Unfortunately, you won't be seeing the blue plaque.
I won't see that one.
No.
But
Yeah,
I can
and you
always
can't wish for
imagine.
that either.
Very good. Paul's here in 20 minutes' time.
Now, Sir Keir Starmer has promised the largest house building programme since the post-war era, with dozens of new towns built by British workers.
Now, more than 100 possible locations have been suggested for these towns across England, each with the potential for 10,000 or more homes. Starmer has vowed to take on the NIMBYs and the blockers. Good luck with that.
Well, the Prime Minister says he's inspired by King Charles and his overseeing of homes in the new sustainable town in Cornwall.
Well, we have got the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, and that is Richard Tice this morning, who's got a few things to say. And I think those would relate, Richard, as well, to the new towns. But you've got some interesting views on net zero and energy generation, and I have to say they surprised me. You tell me what you're proposing, and then we'll counter it. Okay, what are you after?
Well, obviously Reform UK wants to scrap net stupid zero overall, but as part of that, we're saying that these huge subsidies, we've got to reclaim those. So we'd put a windfall tax on all renewable energy generated by wind farms, by solar farms, by Drax power station. No one wants more ugly pylons on our countryside, blighting our environment. So we've got to force National Grid to put the cables on the pylons that are proposed, put those underground. It's actually as economic, and so we will, when we win the next general election, which is the plan, we will force National Grid to put the cables underground, not install them above ground.
I understand that, Richard. I totally understand that, and it means that when the next storm comes along, we won't have power cuts, and there won't be all that business involved in putting them back up again and whatever. But I really am surprised that you're against the idea of you're having an idea of windfall tax on renewable generated power. What harm is that doing?
Massive harm, because renewable power requires huge subsidies, over 10 billion a year. That's about £300 or £400 per household per year because of renewable energy. Contrary to what we've been told by the eco-zealots, actually renewable energy is costing more. It's a basic, simple premise. Renewable plus backup must cost more than backup. We've all been ripped off. We've been misinformed. We've got to stop this nonsense. The only way to bring bills down is to and to lower the cost of living is to scrap net zero and scrap these huge subsidies that are paid to the renewable industry.
Well, the Conservative Environment Network has responded to your plans, saying that Reform UK's plans would actually cause household bills to skyrocket because it would pull the rug on energy firms. They say you should be unreleasing homegrown energy that can make us more energy secure and self-reliant and not block new supply and decimate investor confidence. They say the problem is not net zero, it's our reliance on expensive gas imports.
Yeah, why can't we have both?
Government intervention. What do you make of that?
Well, that's why the Conservatives got thrown out last year. They imposed the stupid net zero on the nation. That's why electricity bills have soared in recent years. That's why, sadly, they're going to go up again in April. The Conservatives are completely out of touch on this. We're the only party that knows how to bring down the cost of living, the cost of bills, by getting rid of these huge subsidies on these renewable. Just look across at America. Their electricity is about a quarter of our price. Why? Because they're using homegrown gas from America. We've got loads of gas, shale gas, oil. We should be using that. That's how you bring the bills down. That's how you grow the economy. You may have seen the economic growth figures out this morning.
Yeah, awful.
Another desperate quarter. Per person, we're now in the third year of recession.
Yeah, but I'll ask you this question. What I don't see, I understand what you're saying, and I wasn't really aware of how much we are paying towards subsidies. But the idea of renewable energy and being good for the environment, most people would be in favour of that in principle. I do understand we've got a debate when it comes to the cost. But why can't you do both? Why can't you say, well, ease a bit of this renewable energy in, solar farms, all that sort of thing? And why not have a bit of that and do what you're doing as well?
Well, the whole point of land, agriculturally productive land, is to grow food on it.
Yeah.
So that we get food security. You can't do that if you cover them with billions of solar panels that are made in China. Yes, put solar panels on the roofs of homes, on industrial units. that's fine. But we shouldn't be using productive agricultural farmland for solar panels. We make that very clear. And I repeat the point, Eamonn. Clearly, renewable plus backup when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine must cost more than backup. Why are the British people being penalised? Why are the British people having to pay more when no one else in the world is doing this stupid? And the reason is because it's stupid. Most other nations sitting on energy treasure are extracting it as fast as they can go. This government, after the Tories before them, seem quite happy to leave our energy treasure underground. That's the reason we're getting poorer per person.
Is Ed Miliband stupid?
I'm afraid on this, yes, he is. It's as simple as that. We call him Ed Siliband.
Can I ask you about the government's plans for building? We're talking about new towns, 12 new housing settlements and 10,000 homes or more on each of those. Do you think this will solve the country's housing crisis?
Of course not, because this government, like the previous Tory government, have got an open borders policy, welcoming 700,000 more people into the country. These new homes they plan won't even house the increase in the population through mass immigration. What we've got to do is have net zero immigration, and then let's use our brownfield sites first in order to solve the housing crisis. There is a housing crisis which has been caused by mass immigration. We've got to use our brownfield sites first in order to build more homes. And if you get rid of these daft net zero regulations, you can bring down the cost of house building, which means you can bring down the cost of those homes. Another win-win.
Is it a win-win with Putin, Trump and Zelensky? These talks quite brave, quite brutal straight away. We don't know how they're going to progress, but they're happening.
That's right, and of course it's a win-win to try and stop the killing, to stop the slaughter, to stop the injuries and the destruction. The new administration is making it very clear that it wants to try and engage in discussions with President Putin. At the end of the day, most wars end with some form of negotiation, and what President Trump has done is start that process. Of course, Ukraine has to be central to it, and it's best to negotiate from a position of strength, but actually the US is in a position of strength, and let's see where this goes. But all of us surely want the killing to stop, and it's better to at some point talk after 3 years of killing.
So Richard, the thing about Putin and him being reintegrated, say, and hopefully all of this does come about and peace breaks out. But what about him being accepted back onto the world stage? I mean, would you be comfortable shaking the man's hand as a representative of the UK?
Frankly, no, I don't think so. I'd be wanting to count my fingers very carefully afterwards. Look, I think that's a whole different ballgame. First of all, let's try and stop the killing. But in terms of welcoming a brutal, murderous dictator back onto the world stage, I think that's a wholly different ballgame. I can't see that many people would be up for that for a very, very long time.
One step at a time.
What does this mean for Europe, Richard Tice, and what do you think it means for NATO?
Well, look, that's a very good question. And I think what it does mean is that all member nations of NATO have got to increase our defence spending. President Trump, quite rightly, has made that very clear after making it clear in his first term of office. We've said we've got to get to 3% of GDP spending on defence. Other nations have got to do the same. And that's very important because the only way you guarantee peace is through strength.
Can I ask you about the GDP figures out this morning, just briefly, because we are almost out of time with you? Grown by 0.1% in this quarter. How would reform get growth into the economy?
These figures are dire after a flat third quarter last year. Per person, as I say, we're getting poorer quarter on quarter. To grow the economy, you've got to cut daft regulations, scrap net zero, freeze mass immigration, which is suppressing British wages, and we've got to use our own energy treasure, and we've got to cut taxes. But first of all, we've got to cut the vast amount of wasteful government spending, which is being so damaging for our economy. The the abuse of public spending, justified by somehow the public sector thought it was a good idea to spend £100 million on a bat shed.
So you want a Department of Government Efficiency, do you?
Absolutely right. We need to slash the size of the state, get rid of wasteful government spending, which I just see everywhere. Whistleblowers coming to us with the bad buying of government contracts, abuse. Far too many people are abusing the benefit system. Wherever you look, there is wasteful government spending. Bring down that wasteful spending, cut daft regulations, then you can cut taxes, and then we can grow again, as long as we're exploiting our own energy treasure. Do these things, and we can be back to the growth levels of the 1980s and 90s of 2.5% to 3.5% a year. That's what America enjoys. That has to be a target. But to do that, we've got to copy America's economic policies, which I've just outlined.
And another target for Richard and Reform UK is scrapping net zero. Good to hear from you, Richard. Thank you very much indeed. We say goodbye to Richard Tice. Well, what do you think? Have your say, have your views? Catherine Foster now with her views. Catherine.
Yes, good morning. Well, the government wants to talk about building. Build, baby, build. That's what the Prime Minister said last week, wasn't it? Obviously, channeling Donald Trump. His influence is everywhere, isn't it? Of course, he said drill, baby, drill. So yesterday, I was up in Scunthorpe talking about Heathrow, which might seem weird, but Heathrow are expanding terminals 2 and 5. Whether or not the third runway gets the go-ahead, that's starting this year. They've made a pledge to use British steel, and that's why I was up at the headquarters of British Steel. So the government championing that yesterday. Today it's all about new homes. About 100 different areas have put in plans, and at least a dozen will be selected. The government have said that they're going to get those started in this Parliament. There'll be about 10,000 homes minimum in each of them. Of course, they'll all need the infrastructure, the schools, the doctors, and so on and so forth. But of course, there's always opposition, isn't it? The government have pledged to build 1.5 million new homes. Previous governments have failed to hit targets again and again and again because, of course, of the NIMBYs. Everyone wants more houses. They just don't want them necessarily where they are. Keir Starmer saying he's going to take on the blockers. Let's see. I think it's interesting too that he's taken inspiration from King Charles. He was down at a village in Cornwall with the Deputy Prime Minister on Monday, looking at houses built in a style that King Charles has championed, more traditional, using local materials, looking nice, colourful, windy roads, etc., etc. They want to see more of that. They're also saying they want to use British workers. I think that's going to be a big, big challenge, given that we really haven't trained enough of our own people up to have these skills.
Thank you, Catherine.
That's an interesting point, actually, isn't it? Because there is a focus on British workers. Would there be enough British tradespeople to build these houses?
You mean we don't have any tradespeople?
Well, we've got plenty of tradespeople, but do we have enough for this sort of project? Or would we need to train up more?
Nobody wants to work anymore. What about that man outside number 10 there who was... Did you see him taking the selfie?
I didn't. I missed that.
Two selfies he took while Catherine was talking there. Yeah. Not that I was concentrating on him as opposed to her, but it was just interesting.
You were multitasking.
To see, multitasking. I got to park outside number 10, outside the... right outside the front door of my car.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Is that because you're you?
No, it's because I can't walk.
Oh.
Right, so they gave me this disabled space outside.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah. I didn't think anyone would be able to get that close.
Alex Burkle's got an update on the weather. Please make it not be grey today again.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year, and if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night, and where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, how do you fancy your chance to be one of two very lucky winners in the Great British Giveaway? Well, you can't get involved, but you can, and there's two fabulous prize bundles to give away. So here are all of the details that you need.
We're doubling your chances to win in our latest Great British Giveaway with two fabulous prize bundles up for grabs. There's two lots of a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash. You'll also receive a brand new iPhone 16 along with £500 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite store. And the best news is two lucky winners are going to win. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're asking, can Prince William save the special relationship? Is he our trump card? We're going to be debating that next.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee Anderson's Real World, Fridays from 7 p.m.
That's football.
Well,
you know, it's the hope that kills you.
It does. It gives you highs, it gives you lows. I mean, if you're an Everton fan at the moment, you probably had far too many lows. But as you know, I'm a Nottingham Forest fan.
Well, you must be having a huge high.
But you know, you had one of the greatest footballers ever to grace the game, Mike, and that was Dixie Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. William Ralph Dean. Didn't like being called Dixie, but that was his nickname. And he was born in 1907. He was my grandfather's best mate. I'm an Everton shareholder. I've been, you know, attached to the club all my life, and so was my father, so was my grandfather, our greatest ever player.
So back in the day when players like Dixie Dean were playing football for big crowds in, you know, a proper...
72,000.
Yeah, a proper working class sport back in the day, weren't it, football? Not like it is today. You've got to be pretty wealthy to afford a ticket.
Even in the 70s, right, and I've seen some, you know, I do like looking back on the football that I watched as a kid. Even in the 70s now, I've seen pictures of the turnstiles, as we used to call them, with a sign at the top, 5 shillings for the Eastern Terrace. 5 shillings. Yeah. Last time I turned down a ticket to go to a football match was Arsenal, who wanted me to pay £830 for a seat in an executive lounge. And though I could have afforded it, because I've worked all my life like you, I just thought at that point, that's ridiculous.
Well,
you know?
You should have told him you were Keir Starmer's security man. You'd have probably got him for nothing.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
But you know, you go back to the the 1930s and 1940s, even the 1960s and 70s. You know, the footballers would walk to the ground and play a game, and then walk back and go for a few beers in the pub.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're talking about the relationship between Britain and America and just how special it is, if at all. Well, President Trump has a fondness for the royals, and this is integral to what we're going to talk about next.
Yes, he's, of course, been praising the late Queen as well, hasn't he? And he's been showing his affection for the King, and he's also shown his affection for the Prince of Wales. We're asking, is he the trump card to securing this special relationship?
Let's get the view of royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Richard.
I would say that he very definitely is the trump card. I mean, we know in the blizzard of the last almost 3 weeks, I mean, it's been quite difficult to predict exactly what President Trump is doing next, or indeed is doing in a particular day or in a particular field. But one thing we do know that's entirely consistent, and that is he is a supporter of our monarchy. And William is ideally placed to benefit from this, because in the YouGov poll last year, he was the most popular world figure voted in America, and here only the Princess of Wales is more popular than he. So Trump is, we know, 40 Minutes at Notre Dame. They got on very well. Trump said he was doing a fantastic job, he was a good man, and so forth. Now, it's very difficult, of course, to work out sometimes what President Trump actually does and actually thinks, but on this he's been completely consistent. And when he visited the Queen at Windsor in 2018 and then came for the state visit in 2019, we know he enjoyed it, and the special relationship is so valuable. And I wouldn't say that the present government and certainly our new ambassador, very strange to begin with an apology, they ideologically they are not well aligned with President Trump. The monarchy is something he reveres. We know that. His mother was Scottish and was very monarch.
Yeah. Well, it's the soft power of the monarchy at play, isn't it, Richard? Because we know already, as you say, President Trump has this warm affection for the royals. You've probably seen that video clip of him on board Air Force One, and he's showing that lovely photo album of him at Windsor. I mean, it's clearly there, but in order to maintain this relationship, some would say save the special relationship, this is where we need to have Prince William perhaps at the forefront.
Well, we do indeed. And what is being thought, firstly, there is the possibility of a visit. This does depend, of course, on the Princess of Wales's health. And nonetheless, if the Prince and Princess of Wales were to visit the United States, that would be something to consider in the weeks and months to come. Then there is the possibility, this would be completely unique, only President Chirac, in different circumstances, has visited twice on a state or semi-state basis, and he would be, if he did or was state visit, it would be completely unique, which would appeal.
Richard, let's bring in Will Kingston now on all of this. I think he's a bit like me. He's not sure whether there is a special relationship or not. I get a bit fed up listening to this special relationship, Will, which is just dates back to a military relationship in the Second World War, and we try and pretend...
No, Reagan and Thatcher.
Yeah, but that's a whole other story.
Bush and Blair.
This really just goes back to the Second World War, and that's what it's based on. But anyway, Will, your view is what?
My view is, will a relationship between William and Trump hurt? Probably not. But if we think that Prince William's beard is going to save us, or it's going to move Trump's, I guess, opinion one iota, we are deluding ourselves. Trump's not going to give up his America First mantra because he has a warm relationship with Prince William. He's ultimately going to do what's in America's interests. And I think we need to be more aware as the United Kingdom that we need to push our interests more firmly. And you're probably not going to get that through William. You're going to get that through strong government policy, which we're not seeing from this current government.
I don't know, Richard, do you agree with that? Do you not think that President Trump would be swayed by his affection for the United Kingdom and his ties to Scotland specifically?
Well, I think, whether or not there's a special relationship has been argued over the years, but you look back to various wars, or you look back to you mentioned the Reagan-Thatcher relationship, which was tremendously strong, but it's worth remembering, for example, that towards the very end of the Falklands conflict, Reagan was riding with the Queen. That was something he valued. And to say you can't ignore diplomacy. It's tremendously significant. William has had practice in this, lobbying against the illegal wildlife trade in President Xi in China in 2015, being the only member of the royal family to have had an official visit to Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. This is something that's very, very significant. Of course, Trump will remain America first, and of course there will be certain issues wouldn't necessarily affect tariffs, but goodwill is something that's significant, and that is what William would bring.
And Will, so are goodwill and state visits. Trump likes a bit of the baubles and the royalty and everything that goes on, and he's going to get a state visit. And I think he likes just to keep in well with the royals in this country. He likes it.
Yeah, sure. But to pick up on the special relationship point from Richard, that relationship's always been based off shared interests. If you look at post-World War II, it was the shared interests around the military. If you look at the 1980s, it was the same economic ideology. Where are the shared interests today? We're fundamentally opposed on environmental policy. We're opposed on economic policy. We're opposed on the general vibe shift that's going on around the culture wars. I can't see the shared interests that there once were between the US and the UK. And I think that's where you need to start. I need to start around kind of, pomp and ceremony.
Well, that's where we need to end as well, unfortunately. Gentlemen, very interesting listening to both of you. Thank you very much indeed for the debate. Appreciate it.
Let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll-say.
But what you forget, this reason I hesitated with the Reagan and Thatcher business, and there was, on the face of it, they were very close, and I think they personally liked each other, but he betrayed her quite badly on a number of times. The Falklands being one, Star Wars being another thing, relationships with Russia. They had big fallouts, big fallouts, and it was serious stuff. But I think there was a personal... They liked each other
and respect,
and they spoke the same economically. That from that point of view as well.
It was interesting. Even this week, I think Trump and Keir Starmer had a phone call, didn't they? Quite a lengthy one. And at the end, he said he gets along really well with Keir Starmer. So there you are. Maybe we don't need Prince William in that sense. Then
there you are.
Let us know what you think. Do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit will be here with all of your latest sports news. That's next.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed in both directions at Aviemore after a lorry caught fire. The M53 in Cheshire is partly blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 8 and 9 at Ellesmere Port, causing queues. On the M6 in the West Midlands, there's a lane closed southbound where a car's broken down at junction 10, the Walsall-Wolverhampton turn, with queues from junction 11 at Cannock. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed each way between junctions 10 and 11, between Burton Latimer and Findon. There's a medical emergency. There are queues from junction 12 near Thrapston. In Bedfordshire, the A421 is closed northbound from Cardington Cross to the St Neots Road in Bedford because of an accident causing queues, and the M11 in Essex is closed southbound between junctions 8 and 7A from the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn to Harlow North after an accident. Delays towards there and as you divert. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, I was watching John Wayne, Stein and Hondo last night in 3D.
In 3D?
In 3D.
You got cinema room?
It was shot in 3D, but you can't see it in 3D, but it is.
Oh, OK.
It was in 3D. So the thing is, I missed the Liverpool derby.
Right.
I wish I had watched it.
Yes.
It all kicked off at the end.
It did.
What did David Moyes have to say at the end of it?
Well, you don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from David. That's what David Moyes said.
Well, let's be fair. It was mayhem all game. It was a bit of an old-fashioned throwback in some ways. The bit after the game, I can tell you about what I know, but the truth is, the bit after the game, it's not the thing you should really be talking about. But what I do know is I think that the Curry got a yellow card, which saw him getting a red, which I'm disappointed because we're short of players at the moment, and we need all our players. But the place was boiling hot all night here, emotional. Incredible atmosphere inside the stadium.
One of the reasons emotional, not only was it a derby, it was the last derby to be held at Goodison.
That's right.
I think he will take that as a win last night.
He's done brilliantly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's come in and he's done brilliantly, and it's a real homecoming for him, especially with the last season there. And he did mention Abdoulaye Doucouré, who plays for Everton. He got himself sent off because he just celebrated in front of the Liverpool fans. I mean, it's one thing, a last-minute equaliser, but to do it in front of the Liverpool fans, Liverpool players weren't happy, all kicked off, so that's what he was talking
Pity about
there.
them. There we go. The Saudi Arabian World Cup is 10 years away.
Yes.
But if you're thirsty, you may have a problem.
Well, obviously, it's a dry country. We all know that Saudi Arabia is a dry country. The ambassador to Britain, Prince Khalid bin Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud,
right, here's what I don't
was
understand.
interviewed yesterday.
I
said
don't
about
understand how FIFA could come along and say, right, have our whole tournament, and part of the culture of that tournament is people having a drink. I don't drink. I don't care less.
Right.
But why? You just cannot say to a load of football supporters, you can have nothing, not in your hotel room, not in an off licence, not in a bar, nothing.
Firstly, do you think FIFA care? The answer is they don't care because it's all about this. That's the reason it's in Saudi Arabia.
Well, people go, though, because a lot of football fans, it's part of the experience.
A lot of football fans, it is part of the experience, but let's not forget that you can't go to a football stadium and drink beer or any alcohol whilst you're watching the game.
But you can't around it.
Then, I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's unlike you. I mean, yeah, but I'll have the odd drink, but I wouldn't say I was a drinker, but you want to celebrate. Can you imagine if your team wins the World Cup and then you're going, right, OK, so it's lemonade all round. It's, they should at least be.
What do you do with the 4 days or so between games and things? You know, there's a lot of time to kill.
Yeah, there's...
So I think that's difficult. But anyway, they're saying very definitely
no.
They are... no?
They're saying no, and interestingly, what he did say, the line he used was, at the moment, we have no alcohol. So whether that means at the moment, it's a long time to go. So I wonder.
Sponsors, depends who they get for sponsors and all that.
It's everything is about money.
You
I mean, maybe not Saudi Arabia, they're dishing it out, but everybody else, it's all about the money. Right.
Whose birthday is it today?
OK, shall we play?
Let's play birthday.
Here we go. Birthdays today. Sporting birthdays. We do have quite a few, a couple of showbiz ones.
That's Liam Brady.
Liam Brady. What a player Liam Brady was there. Arsenal legend. Liam Brady. So Ellie played in the 70s, played in the 1980 and 1979 FA Cup final. Chip. They called him Chip. No, what is it? Chippy. Chippy, and do you know why? Nothing to do with the fact the way he used to chip the ball. It was because when they went into a dressing room once, he was eating fish and chips. And that's true. That's how he's called Chippy.
Genius of a
Chippy
player.
Brady, Liam Brady. How old today? What do you say, Eamonn? I think I've got a good feeling about you on this.
I'd say he's 75.
I'd say 76.
69. It's only 69. Oh. Yeah, I would have said a little bit older.
OK.
Right, next one. Let's go for another one. We've got a referee for you.
Ooh.
Look at that. Pierre Luigi Collina, the most famous FIFA referee of them all. I mean, if he's sending you off, you're not going to stick around, are you?
It's hard to tell how old he is.
Yeah, it is.
He could be any age, really.
He could be any age.
Transcends time.
He could be 18, he could be 103. So where are you going to go with this? He was refereeing up until about, 10 years ago? Maybe a bit longer.
69.
69 is a good place. It's 65.
Oh,
65.
Right.
So it's got to take good guesses. Right, let's go with another
he's
one.
a hard paper round, doesn't he?
Oh, now there's Jamie Murray. See, there's Andy's brother, Jamie.
And that's his younger brother, no?
It's his younger brother.
So he is.
I would say
30.
Actually, no, I think it's his older brother.
What?
Well, that makes a big difference in the game of birthdays.
Older brother, yeah.
40.
45.
39.
Ooh,
39
well done.
Right, two more. I'll just go with a little showbiz, shall we?
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams' birthday today.
Good question.
Got to be in his 60s, surely. 68?
53.
53 for Robbie Williams.
50.
It's good, but it's not right.
50.
51.
51.
51. One more for you. Are we going to see the shoes? Oh, no, it wasn't.
Rachel Reeves.
Oh, no, it was Adja Rainey's shoes, wasn't it? Rachel Reeves has probably got a pair of Brother Creeps as well, maybe. But Rachel Reeves, how old is she today?
Rachel Reeves. Oh, is it her birthday today?
It is. But that's why she's in the birthday.
We're playing birthdays, OK. She is 56.
She's going to love you.
45.
46.
Oh, no. Brilliant.
Eamonn's still in the good books. Ellie, not so. Next time you speak to her.
Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Norman Baker, Fraser Myers for the papers. Next.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
We have some heavy thundery rain affecting eastern parts of the Mediterranean at the moment. Meanwhile, there is also a band of rain pushing in from the west tomorrow, affecting parts of Madeira later on and pushing into the far west of Spain and Portugal as well. Also some hefty rain affecting Italy, but it's around the Adriatic coastline where we're going to have some heavy thundery downpours, even some significant snow for Croatia in particular, with 10 to 20 centimetres even to lower levels. Elsewhere, a mostly fine story.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lately, it's getting much better. The people getting more educated in terms of overall well-being of the skin health rather than temporary aesthetic treatments. Because most of the treatments in aesthetic, it doesn't change the texture of the skin. It just gives like volumetric result or remove the wrinkles temporarily.
So what are the most popular treatments that people are after?
According to a statistic report, first is anti-wrinkle, then dermal filler, then energy-based device. Yeah. But lately, biostimulators also became very popular. And
what do you mean by biostimulators?
Biostimulator, any substance that can change the texture of the skin, or like it will lead to postpone the aging process, or proliferate more collagen, increase the elasticity of the skin, such as polynucleotide or exosome, or different vitamins and minerals in a form of mesotherapy considered as a biostimulator.
Turkey's a particularly popular destination because the costs are so much lower. There have also been a lot of horror stories about what can happen when things go wrong, even people dying from post-surgery complications. What would you advise people?
Choose as a practitioner or surgeon very carefully and never prioritize price over quality. This is your face after all, your body after all. And mistakes can be reversible. It can be irreversible, and sometimes it's not like a booking restaurant or hotel. It's a sensitive matter that can affect their confidence and skin and body for life. Yeah. So they need to choose very wisely. They need to search what kind of methodology that particular surgeon they perform the treatments. Are they using any safety tools?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're going through the papers now with former Liberal Democrat Minister Norman Baker and Deputy Editor at Spite, Fraser Myers. And Norman, I think you've got a story here that people already knew, that women are more generous than men. We are the fairer sex.
I think that might be true, to be honest with you.
I think it is.
Well, you might be biased, but I'm saying it neutrally, that I think they're more generous. And this is a report, it's a Spanish research project, so it may be different in Spain from the UK. There's a kind of advisory note on it, but it says that women give far more. When there was a kind of experiment carried out, and women were more generous at giving money away than men were in this experiment. It's 1,000 people, so it's a reasonable experiment, I think. Another study, which was published recently, suggested that cancer patients experience less chronic pain when they help to care for others in the same ward, which is an interesting finding as well. In other words, being altruistic is good for your own health.
And what was interesting about the Spanish survey is that actually everyone was more generous than they were expected to be. According to sort of classical economic theory, the people were anonymous, that you were sharing. You're given £10 and you say, do you want to share any of the money with an anonymous person? economic theory would say, well, you share nothing because you'll never meet this person. You know, you have no connection to them. But everyone was more generous than they were expected to be. So that's a nice, heartwarming story.
It's quite nice. The other thing which I saw the other day was that all the areas of the UK, the ones which are Eamonn, the area which is most generous in the UK was Northern Ireland.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I know. I can feel that. I know that sort of to be true. I would be stupidly generous, and I hate myself for it.
You are very generous.
But I know people, some people related to me, who would be completely opposite, and actually get you can tell it's beyond their control to be mean. But
what,
they
tight?
Yeah, but really, it's like. You were asking there who's the most generous of the sexes, but maybe there's a control thing in men where they think they've got to be responsible, they've got to look after the money, they've got to do this, but...
Well, I guess one of these surveys like this, they don't prove that it's inherent in men. It could be the way people are brought up. You know, it could be the way that you're socialised. Are women expected to be nicer to get on in life? I
can definitely know my father was the same. I know my father... He would have money. My father was from a generation that had cash in their pockets. They had money always in their pocket, you know, and therefore he always used it. And that was that. But listen, let's talk about. We talk about money there. Let's talk about central heating in a house here as well. So what does this survey tell us?
This is a great story in the Daily Star, which is a survey carried out by a company for their own purposes, no doubt. Smart Energy GB, give them a quick plug for our survey, and they've identified what they say is the top 10 reasons for disagreements at home between couples, one of which is the temperature of the house, as to whether the radiators are on or off, or whether the windows are open or whether they're shut, the volume of the television, on which date the heating can be turned on, leaving appliances on standby. 68% thought it was unacceptable to leave a toilet seat up, which I can understand. There's also a dispute about whether ketchup should be in the fridge or whether it should be in the cupboard.
It needs to be in the fridge.
I think it should be in the cupboard, but there we are.
There we have it.
You're probably right, but I've now in the habit of putting it in the fridge. I think you're probably right.
Yeah, fridge item for sure.
I'd never have thought of putting brown sauce in the fridge. It sits in the cupboard, but...
I put all my condiments in the fridge.
Yeah, mayonnaise and everything else.
Yeah, but the central heating is definitely one that couples row about.
It's definitely a gendered thing as well, I think.
Women get colder a lot earlier on.
They do, yeah, that's right.
It's true, I'm always freezing. Fraser, let's have a look at this story in the Telegraph, shall we? Britain needs you. If you're a DJ or a yoga teacher.
Yeah, so this is the sort of skilled workers list. So the Home Office has a list of occupations that you can essentially get a visa for to come in as a medium skilled worker. Now, a lot of people might expect that to be things like plumbers or electricians or builders, bricklayers, that kind of thing. But actually, it's quite interesting. Some of these jobs include dog walkers, mystery shoppers, DJs, yoga teachers. It does sort of beg the question as to why are people coming over on small boats and claiming asylum when they could just be a dog walker or something and they'd be granted a visa under the system. Now, I mean, it should stress that not that many visas have been given out. There's a few hundred, for instance, around animal care services like dog walkers and stuff. But it is a fascinating insight into actually what it means to be a skilled worker. It's probably not exactly what we imagine.
No.
Norman, earlier we had Reform UK with Richard Tice from Reform. I mean, he was talking about getting rid of net zero targets, and a lot of it surprised me that he was so vehement about it, but he believes that we are being taxed on this. We are paying an undue amount, and we're also our own gas, coal and oil businesses are being affected by this as well. So it's a windfall tax he wants on net zero contributions.
Well, I'm sorry I'm not here to debate with him, because I thought, actually, to be honest, he was talking a lot of nonsense when he was on earlier on. Look, I mean, the fact is that we need energy security in this country, so we minimise imports of gas from places like Russia, and we've now got days when over 50% of our energy is produced by renewable sources. That's a great success story for this country, as a matter of fact, employing lots of people and British jobs producing this energy. We've also got something called climate change, by the way. I know the government said it's committed to net zero, but it seems to be committed to net zero for growth rather than for net zero for carbon emissions. But I mean, look, I mean, we've got that major problem with that. We need diversity of supply, of course we do, and the idea that you don't put all your eggs in one basket is very good, sensible energy policy. So I don't understand why he took the view he did, because it doesn't make any sense. Renewable energy is good for this country, for climate reasons, it's good for economic reasons, and it's good for employment reasons.
OK. Gentlemen, got to leave it there. Fraser, Norman, thank you both very much indeed. Very enjoyable. Come back again and see us in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Let us know what you think on any of those stories. gbnews.com/you'll say. Let's get a check on the weather now, shall we, with Alex Burkill.
A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Towards the southwest we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year. And if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so a greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed each way at Aviemore after a lorry caught fire. The M53 in Cheshire is partly blocked southbound by an accident between junctions 8 and 9 near Ellesmere Port, causing delays. On the M6 in Warwickshire, the inside lane's closed southbound after an accident between junctions 3 and 2 near Coventry, causing delays. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed each way between junctions 10 and 11 between Burton Latimer and Findon because of a medical emergency. There are westbound queues from junction 12 at Islip and long delays on the A6 and A45 as you divert. In Bedfordshire, the A421 is closed northbound from Cardington Cross to St Neots Road in Bedford after an accident. The M11 in Essex is closed southbound from junction 8, the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn to 7A north of Harlow after an accident causing delays, and there's disruption to flights to and from Belgium because of industrial action there. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good morning. Time to get Britain building.
As the Prime Minister is set to unveil 12 new housing settlements after taking inspiration from the King.
Well, more than 100 sites have been suggested, but can this fix the country's housing crisis?
Peace for Ukraine. Donald Trump holds talks with Presidents Putin and Zelensky as he seeks to end the war in Ukraine.
And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace and President Zelensky wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
But what does that mean for Ukraine? Well, earlier we put that to Major General Chip Chapman.
So they want credible security guarantees, and unless you have that, you won't get this durable and sustainable peace.
British economy is on the up. Just GDP figures this morning have risen by 0.1%, a tiny relief for the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves.
I'm still not satisfied with the level of growth that our economy is achieving.
But as Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said, what's happened to growth?
We're looking at an economy that is really just not going anywhere at all from a government that promised growth, growth, growth.
80 years since the Allied bombing of Dresden in World War II. We're taking a look back at that critical moment of the war and its lasting controversial legacy.
New blue plaques will be unveiled today. We'll be finding out who's going to be celebrated.
Are you fed up with the cloud? There's actually a greater chance of seeing some breaks in it through today. Stick with us to find out if you're going to see any of the sunshine.
Hello there, very good morning to you. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Thanks, folks, for all you're having to say this morning, taking part on achieving net zero and scrapping net zero from Reform UK. We had Richard Tice on earlier this morning. Alistair says, pursuing net zero by 2030, Labour will bankrupt us. Energy costs already mean large sections of industry have become uncompetitive.
We've been talking about the royal family. We were debating earlier whether Prince William is the trump card, if you like, to save the special relationship. Mel says, yes, the royal family should use their soft power to promote the UK. What they should not be doing is being duped into the political arena and doing visits with Starmer and Rayner and then hosting sleepovers with politicians at Windsor Castle.
A lot of you with views on President Trump and his links with Britain. Donald Trump has British roots. I think he does care about the UK, says Lynn. Nigel says maybe Trump does admire the royal family, but he doesn't like Keir Starmer.
Also on kids going into the workplace, Pippi says, leave your kids at home. Trump didn't look too happy about it when Elon's kid came in. And Emily says, I'd rather have someone's kid at work than a dog because she's allergic to them.
But you see, the business of bringing your child into work and whatever it is, I just think this is Elon Musk doing what he wants to do. He can hire, nannies, anybody he wants, whatever. Money's no object. He's the richest man in the world. But it's just like, oh, here we are in the White House. I can bring my kid in. And his kid, how old is the kid?
4.
Oh, So irritating looking.
Musk.
And his name is X. He's sort of like got a computer code as a name.
He does have a computer code as a name.
Poor child, poor child. You can never blame children for the sins of their parents. Now, it's been a busy morning on the political front today. GDP, as we just told you, has risen by hardly anything, 0.1%. And here's what the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, had to say earlier.
The growth numbers have come in higher than many expected, but I'm still not satisfied with the level of growth that our economy is achieving, and that's why I am determined to go further and faster in delivering the economic growth and the improvements in living standards that our country deserves.
Well, today, Sir Keir Starmer has promised the largest house-building programme since the post-war era, with dozens of new towns built by British workers.
More than 100 possible locations have been suggested, all of these across England, each with the potential for 10,000 or more new houses.
Well, the Prime Minister says he's inspired by King Charles and his overseeing of homes in a new sustainable town in Cornwall.
Let's go to our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, for her take on this one. This is going to be a big announcement. Will we actually hear the locations today, or what's going to happen?
Yes, good morning, Eamonn and Ellie. No, we won't hear the locations today. We know that there's 100 areas that have applied. About a dozen will be selected, and they will start work on those before the end of this Parliament. That's what we're told at the moment. We will hear in the coming months which areas those will be. I expect that it will be largely in the southeast of England, although we're told there have been applications from all across the country. So build, baby, build. This is what the Prime Minister has promised, channeling his inner Donald Trump, who said, drill, baby, drill, didn't he? Easier said than done, of course. The government have said they're going to build 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament, but previous governments have consistently missed those targets. Now, these new towns will also need all the infrastructure that goes with them, for a minimum of about 10,000 people. The government have dropped the requirement from the previous government for them to be beautiful, to have beauty, but still saying that they should look nice. Very impressed by King Charles and a village in Cornwall that the PM and Housing Secretary visited the other day, which is very nicely done, winding streets, different colours and so on. But also saying that they want to use British workers for this. Now, I suspect that's going to be a pretty big challenge, because in this country for a long time we've had a huge focus on getting ever-increasing numbers of young people to university, but there's not been the focus on technical skills and trades and apprenticeships, which has meant that a lot of builders, people in the trades, come from other countries. And of course, the government are saying they're going to get migration down. So they're saying they need to train up their own people. But, you know, we have been hearing about this for a while. But this is all part of the government's push for growth, their number one mission. Of course, those growth figures just out, pretty anemic, 0.1% in the 3 months to the end of the year. The first 3 months that Labour in power, growth was 0, and growth per capita for each one of us actually down 0.1%. That's going in the wrong direction.
You're going in the right direction, I have to say. Right colour of coat for this time of year. Very Valentine's Day. Very, very nice.
Very topical, Catherine.
Yes, very, very nice, Catherine. Very good. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
the time, 7 minutes past 9 o'clock. You're very welcome wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening from as well.
Now, it's been 80 years since an Allied attack on Germany burnt the city of Dresden to the ground, killing 25,000 people in a firestorm, with most of those people being civilians.
Now, in the decades since, critics have wondered whether this was totally necessary to attack at all, given that the end of the war was so close.
Well, GB News reporter Will Hollis has the story.
The fires of Dresden burned for days, until little but a shell of the city was standing. In February 1945, 1,000 bombers from the RAF and US Air Force dropped 4,000 tons of explosives and incendiary bombs onto the German city over 3 days.
With terrible precision, masses of high explosive go down on the city which had been earmarked by the Germans as a possible standby capital.
The colossal firestorm ripping through Dresden killed 25,000 civilians. At the time, Nazi propaganda inflated the figures tenfold, but the legacy of Dresden continues to cause debate. Until 1945, Dresden was untouched. But to aid the Soviets advancing in the east, Churchill ordered the bombing of attractive targets essential for a German counter-offensive. Dresden was filled with refugees, but seen as key to the industrial war effort with rail and infrastructure and justified by the Allies for attack. The International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln serves to remember the men who braved deadly skies to win the war. Richard Marriott was flying above Dresden 80 years ago.
This is Sergeant Richard Marriott from Leicestershire. He was only 29 when he was killed with the rest of his crew, and they went down on the first night of the raid over Dresden.
Nicky van der Drift is Chief Executive at the Bomber Command Centre. The centre's other role is reconciling for the horror bombing brought down on both sides. Bombing was a key strategy during the Second World War, with Berlin and London facing the brunt of attacks.
It's about recognising shared suffering. It's about recognising that in war, some good people do bad things, and getting that baseline understanding of what the pressures were on both sides.
Critics of Dresden's bombing take aim at how near it was to the end of the war. The Allies' target was bringing it closer.
The ruins of Dresden are a symbol of complete Allied cooperation aimed at the very heart of the Greater Reich.
Will Hollis, GB News.
Well, we're joined now by Minister of State for Housing and Planning, Matthew Pennycook. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Pennycook. And you've got a huge announcement today, haven't you, about the next generation of new towns. 12 sites, 10,000 or so homes in each of those sites. That's 120,000 new homes, by my estimation. But then when we look at the population growth stats from the ONS, they're predicting 5 million people to this country by 2032. That's mainly down to net migration. This is a drop in the ocean, isn't it, in terms of the housing that we need in this country?
Well, we have got to deal with the dire inheritance we were handed by the previous Conservative government. We've got to restore order to the asylum and immigration system and reduce net migration. But even if we didn't have that challenge, we would still have to build many, many more homes of all tenures across the country because of decades of failure to build enough of them. That is why our Plan for Change includes an ambitious milestone of building 1.5 million new homes in this Parliament. And as part of that plan, we want to bring forward the next generation of new towns across the country. We set up an independent expert task force last year to advise us on what were the best places for those new large-scale new communities. That task force has made significant progress. It's reporting on that progress today. As you say, 100 expressions of interest from all parts of the country, which shows the sort of enthusiasm I think that's behind this transformational programme.
But the majority are in the southeast, aren't they? What happened to looking to the north of the country?
They're from all parts of the country. There are a large number from the southeast. That I think is pretty obvious that would happen in the sense that that is where the affordability pressures are highest. But I can assure you that the task force has received submissions from all parts of the country and will be obviously factoring in the need to address regional inequality and inequalities within regions as part of its recommendations when it issues its final report in the summer.
It's very exciting, actually, when you think about it. So if you're not an existing town or village, how do you actually decide, I want that bit of land and we're going to be behind the building of what's going on here? Is it the Borough Council that actually propose, or who makes the proposal?
Well, it is government that will make the final decision on where these sites will be located on the basis of the recommendations of this expert task force. But some of the submissions we've received are from local leaders who are really ambitious, want to see these large-scale new communities come forward in their areas. And Eamonn, just to be clear what we're talking about, we will see, I'm sure, from the task force recommendations to take forward some standalone greenfield sites, if you like, but many of the proposals that will come forward will be large urban extensions on existing settlements. So it will depend what the particular circumstances are around each proposal. But I think what the task force has made clear today in its updating us on its progress about these 100 submissions is that there's a real appetite out there for this transformational change. And the scale of this government's ambition is on the level of that post-war drive for new towns. And as you know, that was the most ambitious town building programme in UK history. The new towns that it created are now home to millions and millions of people, and we share that same level of ambition.
Well, I bet you wish you could be building them this week to help out with those figures, those GDP figures today, which are pretty dire. But what you're proposing, when it eventually comes about, will give a huge boost to the economy, will it not?
It will give a huge boost, and we want to see spades on the ground on these new towns within this Parliament. But we're also announcing today further action we're taking through our New Homes Accelerator. And that is an initiative designed to unblock and accelerate development on stalled sites across the country, or sites that are not building out as fast as they could be. We've already seen through 7 sites in that programme the potential release of nearly 30,000 homes. We've unblocked a further 10,000 through just getting in with other government departments and statutory consultees and unblocking barriers. And we've announced 3 new sites today as part of that accelerator in Bristol, Scarborough and London. So we are taking short-term action to get homes delivered, but new towns, as you rightly say, will make a contribution in this Parliament, but they will really get going in future Parliaments and will make a significant difference to tackling the housing crisis in this country and boosting economic growth.
Yes, but just on those GDP figures, are you satisfied with that level of growth in the economy? 0.1% is essentially flatlining, and bearing in mind that your new taxes and employment laws aren't even coming into force until April. So we're flatlining already without those burdens.
We're not satisfied with the figures that have been released this morning, although I should point out there are some good indicators in there. Construction is up, for example. But we always knew that there was no silver bullet, no simple remedy to turning around 14 years of economic stagnation under the Conservatives. We had to, when on assuming office, ensure that the finances were put on a sound footing to address that black hole we discovered on taking office. But we've been absolutely focused in the months since on unblocking the various regulatory barriers that stand in the way of growth. In my own area, for example, we've overhauled the National Planning Policy Framework in December to ensure that it's pro-growth, that it's aligned to that Plan for Change 1.5 million new homes target. But there's much more to do. We've got to go further and faster. That's part of what today's announcement is. We're bringing forward a planning and infrastructure bill in the coming weeks that will help further streamline the delivery of new homes and new infrastructure.
Okay. Matthew Petticoat, good luck to you. Thanks for talking to us this morning. Matthew is a housing minister and Minister for Planning. Thanks, Matthew. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do stay with us. Still to come, the English Heritage are giving out new blue plaques today. We'll find out who is being commemorated next.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The Great British Giveaway, £10,000 in tax-free cash up for grabs. Have a go.
Don't miss your chance to be one of 2 big winners in our latest Great British Giveaway, as we have 2 prize bundles that have to be won. First, you'll win a totally tax-free £10,000 in cash to spend however you like. You'll also receive the very latest iPhone 16, and we'll send you on a shopping spree with £500 to spend in your favourite store. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, new blue plaques are going to be unveiled today to honour those who transform the cultural fabric of London. Let's speak now to Matt Thompson from English Heritage to find out who is being honoured today. Very good morning to you, Matt. And
Matt, who are your headline makers today? Who have you got who's attracting most attention?
I think the ones who are attracting most attention, thank you for having me, by the way, would be Mark Bolan and Audrey Hepburn seem to be the ones where we're getting the most the most interest.
Well, no arguments there. Very worthily and beautifully deserved. A lot of people won't know that Audrey Hepburn actually lived in London.
That's right. I mean, whilst she was born on the continent, of course, her formative years in her career, she was living in Mayfair. And it was at this time when she landed her first major stage and screen roles, including her Broadway debut in Gigi. So it really is an important part of the development of this international, this global style icon. It took place in...
What about Mark Bolan? So much part of my sort of glam rock 70s upbringing, and a man who met a very tragic end. Tell us about him.
That's absolutely right. He was not with us. He was not with us for long. Of course, Bolan, born and brought up in the capital, and again, such a huge influence right through the late 60s and into the 70s, really helping to shape and define that glam rock look, sound, and feel. Everything from a musician, folk, rock, a poet as well. I've published a book of poetry, I think, called The Warlock of Love in the late 1960s. So really influential and still really on people's minds. You can't help but be moved when you listen to their songs now. I was listening to Cosmic Dancer just before speaking to you, and what a way to start a Thursday.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did he call me the Warlock of Love there, did he?
Might have done, yeah.
Could have been.
Matt, how does it work in terms of people receiving a blue plaque? How long do they need to have been passed for before it can happen? And do you need to get permission on the house before you put it up?
These are great questions. So someone has to have been deceased for 20 years as a minimum before they can be nominated. But it's really important to bear in mind that nominations all come from the public. There is no group of people who's deciding. So if you've got someone that you think fits the bill, and I'd say please go to our website, have a look at englishheritage.org.uk, where the criteria are out there for everyone to see. If you've got someone in mind who you think could really be worth nominating, then please, by all means, get in touch. And then, we then have the difficult job of taking a really long list down to a really short list.
The list you have, Matt, already is most impressive. We say goodbye to you. We say goodbye to everyone watching. Thank you very much for your company. Much appreciated. We'll see you bright and early in the morning.
Andrew Beber up next.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. You may actually see a bit of sunshine today with a greater chance of some cloud breaks compared to recent days, but there will be a few showers around. The showers don't look particularly heavy and most of us will actually avoid these, so staying largely dry, and like I said, there will be some sunny breaks, especially across northern western parts of Scotland, western parts of Wales, but even elsewhere some breaks in the cloud are possible. Southwest, we are going to see the cloud actually increasing here and the winds picking up later as well. But otherwise, temperatures, well, still a bit disappointing for the time of year. And if you are stuck under that stubborn cloud, then it is going to feel chilly indeed. Later on, and as we go through this evening, like I said, some clearer skies through the daytime across parts of Scotland, and these will lead to a largely clear start to the night. And where we get clear skies overnight, a frost quite likely to form. So turning quite quickly chilly here. Meanwhile, where the cloud lingers across parts of southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, northern England, it is going to stay that little bit milder for a little while yet, but some clear breaks are going to develop as we go through the night. Meanwhile, towards the southwest, the Isles of Scilly, the tip of Cornwall, we are going to see some rain pushing its way in. Then overnight, that rain towards the southwest pushes across parts of Cornwall and Devon and also into Northern Ireland. Could see some freezing rain, a bit of snow in association with this. Otherwise, and away from eastern coastal parts, there will be some clearer skies than we've seen through recent nights, so greater chance of temperatures dropping below freezing, and so a greater chance of us waking up to a bit of frost, even some patches of fog or freezing fog first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, as we go through tomorrow, and a bit wet across parts of Northern Ireland, still a bit of hill snow and some freezing rain possible. Also increasing amounts of cloud and rain across parts of Wales and the southwest of England. Some cloud lingering across the far east of England and Scotland too, but in between we have some brighter and drier and sunnier weather to be had. That being said, temperatures not rising a huge amount, so still feeling chilly. Bye-bye.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In the Highland, the A9 is closed in both directions at Aviemore after a lorry caught fire. The M6 in Cheshire's got a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 18 and 19 from the A54 Middlewich and Holmes Chapel turn to Knutsford, causing delays. In Northamptonshire, the A14 is closed each way between junctions 10 and 11 between Burton Latimer and Cranford St John because of a medical emergency. The queues from junction 12 at Islip and long delays on the A6 and A45 as you divert. The M11 in Essex is blocked each way by an accident between junctions 9 and 8 between the A11 and the Bishop Stortford Stansted Airport turn, and closed southbound from junction 8 at Stansted to 7A north of Harlow after an accident. And there's disruption to some flights this morning to and from airports in Brussels because of industrial action there. A number of flights that have been preemptively cancelled already.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Headliners.
Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
We've got the Daily Mail now with the latest in the court case over whether a man is a woman or a man. It's a tough question, and J.K. Rowling has given her opinion. I think I can guess what it is, Cressida.
Explosive twist in Australia's What is a Woman trans battle as Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling gets involved. So this is the court case Giggle versus Tickle. Tickle was a...
He's Mr. Men.
That's right. It's a Mr. Men trans battle.
Kind of is a Mr. Man.
It was a women's group, wasn't it? Tickle, Giggles... Oh, I get it wrong. Giggles for girls. And Roxy Tickle, who is a trans woman, wanted to join this group and wasn't allowed, was banned for being a biological male, and then sued and amazingly got $10,000 for this, which is already extraordinary to me.
Yeah.
But it's now doubling down and is going to file a cross appeal seeking to upgrade the judgment.
Yeah.
So Roxy has come back for another bite of the cherry.
And I've had a look at this Roxanne Tickle, the trans woman.
Is she
pretty? No, not one of the pretty ones. Not a Blair White. Just looks like, to be honest, it looks like
you could be sued for $10,000.
Looks like one of us.
Yeah.
To be honest, no. Like I mean, I'll happily.
For yourself.
No, I think it's an absolute. It's a farce, and it's making a mockery of It's not just making a mockery of women's right to have their own spaces. It's making a mockery of genuine trans people who actually put some effort in and look like a woman.
What do you mean a genuine trans
and also,
people?
If
We don't believe in that.
If your name was Roxanne, if you were going to transition, you wouldn't pick the name Roxanne Tickle. You'd choose Tess.
You Tess. That's a bit kind of name. No, the truth is that's one of the problems, is you get a choice of the name you're going to choose. And of course, you're going to choose like a hot Roxanne. That's a hot Roxanne. That's a great name. They're not going to choose.
You don't think
Louis.
Tess would work better with Tickle?
GB News, the People's Channel.
Morning, 9:30 on Thursday, the 13th of February. Excuse me. Live across the UK, this is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Beb Turner.